I guess first off, obviously we've already started class, so don't worry about it today unless it's really easy for you to fix or something. But it is so annoying just looking at your names alone, or just like a monogram of in your first initial. Like maybe at some point you guys can put up a picture of your face on there so that I'm at least looking at a picture, or you could have your video on and that would be great. And then I don't feel like I'm just like talking to no one. I feel like I would teach a little bit better if you guys did that. But I mean, I'm not going to like force you guys to do something. I might later if I get annoyed. I'll like make it into an assignment out of nowhere. But yeah, try and put a picture. You guys have profile pictures that you put on stuff. Canvas, you should all have profile pictures for. Maybe a different class forced you to do that. Hey, Anton. See, now there's at least one person. I know Alex had his on too. Zach, awesome. Cool. Hey guys, what's up? It's like we're having a party right now, but like not together. Also, I'm supposed to be teaching you. All right. So, thank you. Thank you guys for that. Couple things. So Anton, you brought up the meeting. So you guys, only 16 people actually saw the poll. Like only 16 people out of our class. So the other 4 or 5 were not it wasn't important enough to them, I guess, which is fine. But yeah, because there was 4 people that didn't want to change it, which is fine. I think I said I felt flattered that you want to hang out with me on Saturday mornings. That's cool. If at any point, so I don't know, it was an anonymous survey, so if at any point you do feel like you change your mind about that, but you're one of the 4 people who wanted to keep it the same, if those people did want to change it later down the road, I would be okay with still changing it. But yeah, right now, if there's even one person that wants to keep it the same, we're keeping it the same just because that's what they signed up for and you signed up for. And it sucks for those who would like a little bit more play, like a little bit more, I guess, freedom in when to have the sessions and maybe in the quality of the sessions. But unfortunately, it's not going to be like that. But we'll see. Maybe after today's class. There is so much to cover today. I will tell you that. Yeah, make sure you got your notepads out because it is going to be like after last time, realizing just how easy it is for things to get dragged out. I'm going to try my best to hold myself to like, okay, we have an hour for this. We've got an hour for this. We've got half an hour for this. I'm going to try and make it because there's a lot to cover. We're going to get to the first prompt, which is not an essay prompt, but it is like a larger assignment for 30 points instead of just the regular 12 points for the response papers. It's like a warm up for the first essay, and the first essay is just a warm up for everything else too. So I mean, just try to make sure that I stay on track. I will do my best to stay on track. Now let's see here. Any questions about that? Like we're keeping class the same, so we're going to be meeting Saturdays. Anything confusing about that or no? No. All right. Cool. So notes, or sorry, here's some things. You don't have to write this down as your notes. This is just, I have it written down so that you can see it as well as hear me telling you my feedback. So this is overall feedback for everyone. So for RLD notes, many of you guys did them right. Some were still a little confused on what to cover. right? Like some of you guys were covering the like the it was covering the reading. So you already do a response reading response for, let's say, Plato's Cave. So you don't really need to take extra RLD notes on that. The RLD notes are typically for right now, right, while we're in class. And then and any videos that I throw up that I'm like, hey, watch this week because it's related to the homework, right? But so some people, most of you guys did it right with the whole focusing on like all the stuff that we covered in the last class. And then the other issue, some people, so it's okay sometimes to just copy what's on the screen, but let's say I'm just pulling up a handout. You have that handout. What's the point in copying the handout in your notes when you already have the handout on Canvas that you can just download and then print out? So some of that stuff maybe you need to put down because then you're going to add extra information within that and you don't have the handout in front of you or something like that. That's fine. But try to focus on stuff that you don't have in a different source either. Let's see. So these are the questions that should be in your mind when you are writing your RLD notes. Are any terms defined? Right? So if there's a definition of something, you don't know it, or it's important to know the specific definition of it, write it down. The term and the definition. What are even examples of it, right? What are the concepts that are covered, which is similar to that, but sometimes there's not quite a definition and it's more like how to practice or implement the thing. What is the evidence or examples given? Once again, right? So evidence is really important. Why believe a concept or anything that's a claim of fact or value if there's no evidence or if there's not strong evidence? So you always want to write down evidence if it's there, because you might be compelled by the argument on the spot, but later on you might forget, you were caught in the moment, there was an adrenaline rush or something like that, and he really believed what he was saying. Write down the evidence. You can look back and be like, oh, that's why that is true, because this and this, right? You want to have something concrete. You want to have something concrete for why you believe or can confirm something. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about the RLD notes? Good. Okay. So reading responses. Once again, great job on these. Most were done well, except all of your comments for the most part. There's like maybe 5 that were good, and then the rest were just like, wow, you did so good at this, good job. Which, you know what, like with the reading response assignment, there wasn't a lot for you to comment on. People weren't even supposed to be giving their opinions on the text, so how are you really going to even argue with or really be able to give an insightful comment on someone's reading response? So to be fair, I think you guys did a good job with them, but they still just kind of suck if all you're doing is saying like, yes, you did this thing good job, right? Like, what's the point of that? But I asked you to do it, you did it, and you got the points for it if you did it. So I'm just letting you know, though, it will be easier to write the comments on other people's reading responses, especially after this last one, right? When you start, once you start making your own claims in the reading responses, then people will start. Does that make sense? You'll be able to actually have a little bit more of a real comment to give someone? Yeah.
Can we still comment on their stuff today?
Yeah, I'll let you do that if you forgot. Did you forget to do it again?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Hey,
let you guys put the comments on today too. Well, I mean, because it was due today anyway, so.
I just turned in the homework, but I forgot to do the other part.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, not a lot of people turned this one in. I think either they were burned out, a lot of stuff within the first week or so. Class will get easier. It will get easier. There's just a lot of stuff we have to cover first for anything to make sense, though. Like we didn't even finish the cat thing. It was just pretty dumb. Oh, logistics for the reading responses. So a lot of you guys figured it out enough. Some of you guys had to message me. Others were just doing what you could or forgot to do all the three components of it. So maybe write this down if you don't, if you still feel shaky about the reading responses. So the logistics of that are you read the assigned reading and you take notes on it. You take one picture. You find the page that is like, oh, I annotated this page the most. I'm just going to take a picture of this one. Or I have two readings here, so I can set them side by side and then show the pages that are most heavily, and just take a picture of it. Maybe there's like quite a few pages. You could just lay them on the ground, whatever. Take one picture, only one picture, because it won't let us upload more than one unless you want to like consecutive replies to your own, which is fine if you really want to do that. But honestly, one page is enough for me. So you attach the one page. Then this is important. Always cut and paste your text. So this is for my benefit because it was hard to open some of the files you guys sent. Even the picture files. I did comment. Okay, so you got grades for a couple things there. I didn't comment on any of the quizzes. There wasn't a point. I did comment on some of your RLD notes to make sure you knew what was going on or what you needed to do if anything was wrong. And same thing with the reading responses. If you didn't get a comment, then that means you did everything right. And you don't have to worry about anything. Just keep doing it that way. And at least until I see something else that's wrong. But I wanted to make sure that everyone, I mean, it's a mess the first week, us trying to figure out all the, navigate how to upload things and how to satisfy all the requirements that I've laid upon you. So it's fine. I was lenient with that stuff. Even if you didn't do something right, but you still put in the effort for it, I still gave you full points for it. And if I did mark off something, it was only because it was a very clear thing that you forgot to do or didn't do. So attach your one picture of the most annotated page on your reading, then cut and paste your text so that I can see it and I don't have to download the file just to see your reading response. And then after that you post it, and then you can see everyone else's, and then you comment on two of your classmates' reading responses. And that's how you get full credit. Yeah? Anyone have a question?
Sorry. Oh yeah, I did, sorry. So really the reading responses aren't too formal then, because I always thought like when I first did it, I was under the impression that I had to do an MLA format. I had to be like this, this, and this. I wasn't even sure if we had to do a citation page or works cited.
Oh, wow. No.
For the reading responses. I wasn't sure.
Geez, every week? That would be horrible.
Yeah, I didn't. I did the MLA format at least, but that's why, I mean, it makes sense as to why you wanted to put us in just the copy and paste though.
Okay, so Madison, you're right. Like in the past, if you bring it in, if it's a printed out piece of paper, has to be MLA format. And yeah, if you did send me it in a document, I would have wanted that in MLA format too. The reason why, I mean, you're already doing so much with this. That's probably why I wouldn't ask for a works cited page on it. There's always going to be a works cited page on your essays, except for the first one and the first prompt that we're going to cover today for the other assignment. But so just for the essays, you'll have works cited pages, but that's roughly because you'll be finding those sources yourself, and so you'll have to figure them out. Whereas the other ones, we already know what they are. We have them. We have access to them. So yeah, that is a good thing to bring up, though. And if you didn't bring it up, I'm sure someone would have been, wondering still. So that's helpful. The main reason is just so that we can focus on the skills that we're working on with the reading responses, as opposed to trying to deal with format issues. And it already becomes more complicated once you're cutting and pasting it. If then once it's cut and paste, you're like trying to reformat it or something, that would be pretty annoying. So yeah, for the purposes here, don't worry about, just cut and paste it. But then, so that should make things a little bit easier, at least for those. But then everything else.
Okay, sorry. And for the pictures too, it's easier to just save it as a PDF file, right? When in regards of like our notes and the annotations. This is just like take the picture and save it as a PDF when we upload it to the discussion board.
Yeah, that would be awesome, actually. PDFs tend to work best. One thing that I noticed, that some students, their picture of their notes was actually visible. It wasn't just a little attachment at the bottom. If anyone is in class right now that actually did that and it worked, and you know why it worked that way, I would love to hear from you how to do that, because I was trying to figure it out and it wasn't working for me. I don't know if it's a file type or if it's a certain way. I tried to drag and drop into the text field or whatever. Just couldn't figure it out. There was a couple people that had that, and I was like, that makes it so much easier for me. So now I don't have to download the picture to see your notes, right? Do you see how that makes it easier? Right. So I was hoping someone would know exactly why that is, so that I could get everyone to do it, but I'll keep trying to figure it out. All right, let's talk about Plato's cave then. All right, who wants me to paint them? Yeah. No, that's not what we're doing right now. So Plato's cave. Did you guys have fun with it?
I loved it.
You did?
Yeah.
That's good. Some people don't love it. Some people hate it, like a lot. Did anyone look it up? Like, not just read it, but actually Google search it to try and find it? Yeah, Madison, thanks for being honest. Yeah, it happens. I didn't tell you not to also. So there's that. It's weird, right? First of all, it's in really annoying language. It's a translation of, it's like classical or Attic Greek, I think. But then the translation of it is like old and kind of Yoda-ish sounding. Yeah. So that's annoying. But then on top of that, he's describing things really weird. So we're going to draw it. And you guys are going to tell me the details that are important. So we're just talking about the first section here, lines 1 through 14. And so whatever you guys tell me is a detail that's important for the analogy or the allegory to work, I'm going to draw on here. So hopefully the analogy works by the end of all the things that you have to say about it. So what's the first detail that's important? Let me start you off here. There we go. That's a cave. What do I need to do? What are some details about the cave, about what's going on here that I need to add?
Humans live in an underground
No,
cave.
don't just read it. Don't just read it to me.
Oh.
Chains
Chains. Okay, on who?
on humans.
Where are the humans?
Inside the cave, behind a wall.
Okay. Oh, there's a wall. Where should I put the wall then?
There should be
In front, maybe?
There's also a fire, so that's why you could see the
Okay. Where? Yeah, good. Where's the fire then? Where should the fire go? All right. So like here, maybe. All right. Where are the people?
Facing the wall.
Okay. We'll say this is the wall then. Yeah. All right. So there's.
Prisoner?
Yeah. All right. So we've got dude. I'm not actually good at drawing. I don't know if you figured this out. Is this hard to see?
Sure.
It's hard to see, or it's big enough?
it's bigger.
Big enough.
No, that's there. What did I do? I changed my view, but that doesn't change yours. You can make it so that like I'm on here bigger than everyone else, right? Okay. So so you got these guys, you said chains. So guy, where's the let's see. So here's the wall, here's the wall that they're facing. There's another wall where there's the fire, you said. There's what's going on?
Darkness?
The shadow, the shadow of the objects being reflected onto the wall.
Okay.
There's people carrying the objects behind the wall, next to the fire, I think.
Also, on your drawing, it looks like you didn't finish like the cave. You can add the light.
Yeah.
Facing towards some sort of light. I don't know.
So there's light coming in. That does not look good.
And in the one part, there's darkness. Contained in the darkness.
Well, what? So there's a fire also. Where's that then? Here's the. Well, here's a shadow. That's a cat, by the way. Can you tell? It's great. What else do I need here?
There's also a low wall built behind them.
Okay. And you said chains. So let's say there's chains. We'll just make it so that they are chained to the wall. Yeah. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what else do we need? No one else is helping, guys. Are you just sitting there eating your cereal? Come on. Help
The
me
fire
out.
behind the wall.
Okay. Men behind the wall doing what?
Find the object.
Okay. So we've got other dude.
You can draw them maybe like speaking.
Also, they're in the mirror. Or they would look at themselves.
Sorry, I lost one of my headphones there. He's saying meow, but I don't think that's what he'd be saying. Oh yeah, he should probably have. I have to draw it twice.
There's also a fire at a distance behind them.
That's right. Okay. So.
And I think that's like between the wall.
Oh, you're saying between the wall.
Well,
So between them?
well, it's just at a distance. So
It does not look right. Should have used red. There we go. You can tell that's a fire now, yeah?
Yes.
This was wood. Okay. All right. So we've got the light from outside the cave and the fire. That, let's just say the fire is just on a little thing there, whatever. Then you got the dudes behind, they're holding up stuff, and then that creates the shadow on the wall. Yeah.
Yes.
And whatever they hear, whatever these guys, you were saying they're, you know, these guys behind are the ones talking. So, yeah, anything else that we need, or does that work out?
I think maybe I don't know if it applied, but I think I heard in the text that there was prisoners who would look into the live again, into the shadow.
Looking into the light
Yeah,
within the first 14 lines, or what?
I think. Yeah. Oh no, I don't think it's on the first 14.
That's all right. Oh, you know what? I don't have the chat. My bad. I didn't have my chat open. So yeah, if you guys have anything to say about this too, like feel free to do the chat or something like. So let me ask you guys, what is the most, I feel like this is pretty much everything that I think that you need for it to work. I can't really put, I mean, there's a bad looking chain on the neck, but I can't really like draw that their head can't move, but I guess that's like close enough, right? What do you think is the most important line in those first 14 lines?
The truth would be literally nothing but the shadows of the images.
Yeah, I find that important as well.
Okay, what line was that?
It's the 13th, yeah.
13. Who else chose line 13?
I do.
Me too.
I did.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty, I can't think of a better one. Is there any like runner-up line though?
There was one that I had chosen. It's on line 4. You have shown me a strange image, and they are strange prisoners.
Okay, that's Glaucon, obviously. That guy's worthless though. Did you guys notice the dialogue is just horrible? Like, what is Glaucon even there for? Like, the only reason the only reason he's in the text is just so that Socrates isn't talking to himself. But apart from that, he's just like, I see. Yes, it would be that. Like, he's got no personality whatsoever. He does say a couple things, to be fair, but it's never going to be more clear than, I guess, what Socrates is saying himself. Yeah, any other lines that were runner-ups?
Like I replied, and they see only the shadow or the shadow of one another.
Right. What line is that?
That would be line 5.
Yeah. So line 5 is a good runner-up, but notice the difference between those two lines. Line 5 is saying what is literally happening, and then line 13 is saying the point of what is happening. You get it? It's clearer to the point in 13.
Okay.
One is, even though 5 is going through actual specific details, 13 is more towards why he made this analogy to begin with. Yeah. But we're not going to really we're not going to talk about that until we get to the second part. So we're going to come back to it, but first I want you guys to tell me what happens in the second part. The paragraphs 15 through 26. So they're in here. What happens?
They are released.
Yeah. So there's some, differing views on this. Maybe the guy crawls out on his own. Oh my gosh, I can't draw.
They're the reflection of the water or underwater again.
So I'm not there yet, man. That guy kind of looks more like. So he's climbing out. Yep, he's climbing out, or he's being dragged out. So we're not sure of that. And then we're running out of room here, so I'm just gonna bring us down here. All right, sorry, Anton, I couldn't draw fast enough. All right, so we've got, now he's standing. And what did you see? Or what did you say there was?
It said a reflect of water. They can see a reflection of themselves inside of the water.
Okay, so I'm just gonna here. You guys get that this is a tree?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the wrong pen. And interesting. Okay. Also, yeah, so that's important, yeah. Why is this scene important?
Because sometimes you don't see anything else but yourself. You're trying to know who you are. You look at yourself, and it's like looking at yourself inside of the mirror.
Okay. I mean, go back. You're getting further with it. That's more contemplative about the applications, but why in the analogy itself, like earlier on in a more simple way of looking at it, why is this a significant point?
The moment where he's like enlightened.
Right? It's not, this is actually the point when he gets it. So he walks out of the cave. What's the first thing he sees?
Himself
The light.
or the light.
Does he see the light?
He sees the shadows best.
He sees the shadows. Isn't that weird? It's not weird. It's actually normal. I know that we haven't been to a movie theater in a long time, right? No one here, I'm pretty sure. But remember walking out of a movie theater and it's so bright that you can't see anything, so you just look straight down? Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because you're trying to like walk. I don't know. It's especially, this is an especially like obvious observation when you're walking out of like a theater that just drops you right onto the street or something, like when you walk out the back door and it's like light outside because for some reason you went to the matinee. Anyway, it's so bright that you can't see anything, so you're squinting and it hurts your eyes. And then the first thing you see are the darkest, most contrasting shapes, right? It's the shadows, which is interesting though, because all they looked at in the cave were shadows. So it's real in real life, like that is totally what would happen, but it's also symbolic, wouldn't you say? A bit of this is all he knows. And then the funny thing is, the first thing he sees once he comes out of the cave is the thing that's the only thing he knows anyway. But then when we see this, why is this when he gets it? So he thinks these are real. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is this the point when he gets that they're not real?
You realize he's been living in an illusion. It's like trapped ignorance for believing anything he saw at face value.
Uh-huh. Alex, what were you going to say about that?
Like there's more detail to it, like stuff he didn't see in the shadow.
Hey, look at that though too, right? So you've got a shadow, which is, there's not any detail in it. It's just flat black or whatever shade it is. And here you've actually got the details and even color in it. And you can see the real thing right next to it. Right? Yeah, that was good, Alex. See that? It's like, okay, obviously my picture is garbage, but you get the point, right? A reflection is actually like one step above a shadow. And then he gets to see the thing, like this is obviously the real version, and this is the fake version. Yeah?
Yeah.
What else you got? Samantha, did you have something?
No.
Almost. Stephanie?
For the reflection, on the first part, it said that they were chained from their necks, so they were not able to turn their heads.
Okay.
They were not able to see each other.
Uh-huh.
Especially because it was dark as well. But now, like in the water and with the light, they're able to see not only their reflection but each other as well.
That's a good point, right? So once he sees this, then he looks in the reflection, because you can't actually see yourself. But then when you look in the reflection, yeah, now you can see yourself. That's a really good point. So it just goes from this point with the tree, the aha moment, and then you develop deeper and deeper understanding of things. Yeah, totally. They couldn't even see each other in the cave. That's a crazy thing. This dude who's walking by, who's like carrying whatever object it is, if it's a cat or something, he's not saying meow. He's probably like, hey Todd, what'd you have for lunch? I had a hoagie, right? They think that cats sound like that. Maybe. I don't know. That's actually not in the text at all, but I think it's kind of funny, because whatever they're saying is what they think it's coming from the cats, because that's all they can see. That's all they know.
Also, and I'm going back to like the drawing, but when they come out of like the cave, there's also something that kind of caught my attention, where it says the prisoners are released and disputes of their errors. It's kind of like what I got from it is that it was their fault, or it was on them that they were even inside the cave in the first place.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
I feel like I went like deeper into the reading, or just I overthink things. But that's kind of like, oh, it's like it was their own fault that they were there in the first place, and they had a choice to actually leave it whenever they wanted. I don't know.
so, I think that comes down to the word choice in their translation of the text, but I do think that is a very interesting concept to be looking at in the text. So when you think about this, so what was the word that they used? Their fault or their error?
Their error.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, we already know that this isn't their fault. They're in the cave. I mean, maybe you could say they're prisoners, but we know that they're there their entire lives. And there's no way someone could be a prisoner their entire life and have that be just, considering they would have had to have done something to get in prison. So if they've always been there their entire life, this is, remember, just an analogy, so it doesn't actually matter what we're saying here. But hypothetically, that if that's not their fault or their error, then what is their error? Their error is not understanding what is what. But that's interesting because sometimes your error isn't necessarily your fault, and yet you are still in error. It's just something you've always known. It's always been this way, and that's why you believe it. That's why you think it. But you're still in error about it, but maybe it's not your fault because it was just something you were told, or maybe that's also a bad excuse. Depends on the circumstance, what we're talking about. Let's get a little bit more tangible here. So, all right, we've talked about two of the sections. Now, does anyone know what an allegory is? Like how to define it?
Reference.
Okay. Anything else?
I found that it was like a story that has like a hidden message behind it, where it's like a story that goes to reveal something as you keep reading on.
Yeah, that's good. It's definitely a story, and just like you said. Okay, here, let me give you something simpler. What's a metaphor?
So you try to describe a thing with an implication of it and another object.
Right.
Or, yeah.
No, totally. So metaphors are useful. They're incredibly useful, but it's important for us to know what they're useful for. So when we talk about using a metaphor, do I need a metaphor? So let me first give you an example. Students, okay, all humans are this way, but I'm going to say students because you guys are students. Students are water, right? If I said students are like water, then that would be a simile, but it's more powerful if we just say students are water. So we're not talking about you are literally 80% water, you know, physiologically or anything like that. We're saying you are water because you follow the path of least resistance and you try to go any way that you possibly can to go the easy route. Yes? All humans are like that, by the way. I'm not just trying to, like, you know, attack you. Don't feel attacked right now. But you get how that gives you a little bit of insight into something. If you say that about yourself or whatever, that metaphors are powerful. Here's another. I think it'll be helpful if we, I guess, explain the use of it, and then you'll see how much more useful it is. So imagine this is a whiteboard. Okay, let's just say it's not. This is a big sticky note. Yeah. Do I need a metaphor for this?
No.
I don't. Why don't I need a metaphor for it?
Because it's not comparing something? Or
Well, I could compare it to something. I could be like, this large sticky note is my whiteboard, right? I could say it's a whiteboard. For purposes right now, it is. But the reason why I don't need a metaphor for it is because I can literally show it to you. You can actually, if you were here, you could touch it, you could write on it, you could experience it in a very physical, tangible way, right? You'll know what it feels like. You'll know what it feels like to write on it. You can see it, you can hear it rippling. You don't need a metaphor for that. What you do especially need metaphors for are intangible things, like love. Do you need a metaphor for love?
yeah.
You do. You've heard a million of them, right? Love is a battlefield. Love is a rose because it's beautiful, right? And then you explain what is the correlation, right? it's beautiful, but then it pricks you, and then it also dies. That's an emo song also right there, I'm pretty sure. You guys don't know what emo is, right? That's before your time.
It's like sad music.
Yes, it's sad, whiny, kind of rockish pop music. Yes.
Emotion.
Your parents were really into it. Yeah. So you guys get, so if a metaphor is used to explain an intangible thing, like a concept or something like love, whatever. So you've got a metaphor that's very short. I could say that in 3 words, right? Students are water. 3 words. But then you could have an analogy, which is a longer version of that. And then you could have a full-on allegory, which is a story form of a metaphor, if you think about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, someone else? Was that you, Samantha?
Oh, I was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's probably the clearest way that I can articulate it, that it's an allegory is just a story form of a metaphor. And whoever, was it Madison, I think, you had a definition of it already, and it was great. That was perfect. The only reason why I bring my wording to it is because now we've got the idea that it's something that's used to explain an intangible thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is the intangible thing that this is, the thing that you can't touch, but you need a physical representation of it, a physical representation to understand what it's saying. What is this saying?
Yeah. Sometimes there's a shadow.
Okay. Sometimes you're staring at shadows. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's still in the metaphor, though. What does that mean? This is where you interpret and give us application, guys. What do you think? Who had an interpretation for this?
That sometimes we don't see things as they truly are.
Okay.
Or sometimes you're blinded by what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe
I think
like
sometimes because we are too used to the environment we have lived in for a long time, so we could be blind to new possibilities or to accept new concepts. So I think the chains are like invisible chains that hold us back when it comes to realizing or accepting a new ideas.
Dude, you guys are rad. Like, how many things you got? I wish you guys would write all that stuff down, or you probably already did in your or maybe you didn't, because I kind of told you not to do that. But you guys pulled from like a whole bunch of different elements of this, and those are all like really good applications for this. Exactly. And they were all different too. You guys had different components. That was cool. Okay, so what are some of the straight up concepts that bridge the whole thing? So I think someone said earlier enlightenment, right? Yeah, like from here to here. So enlightenment. Chains, so freedom, right? Freedom's another one. And those two things, notice, are like topics in which you guys said fits into that as more details of like what to do with it. So let me know, what do you guys think? Where are you at?
Maybe knowledge is power, because the people who aren't chained are able to walk around and speak to each other.
Ooh, yeah, knowledge.
Or wisdom is power.
Yeah, that's good. You
Or
kind of need it.
sometimes you don't know, and like sometimes you don't see it, things there, quite frankly, but it's actually there. Your mind just doesn't see it the way you need to see it.
Right. Good stuff, guys. Yeah. All right. Tell me where you're at, though. Where you are. You. Are you here? Are you here? Or are you here? What do you think?
I'm part of the enlightenment.
Okay. So you would say you're right here, Anton.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're walking around looking at the sun. Yeah.
I feel like I'm just I'm looking inside of the water to see
okay.
the answer.
All right. Cool. Anyone else? Anyone else want to say where they think they are in the first two parts? Maybe you think you're in the third part.
Well, I think I'm like on my way to the outside world, because I think most of them people are still chained by their past experience or human instincts or whatever. So I think for me, I would believe that I'm like halfway, just not outside of the cave yet.
Right there? About?
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, I still feel like I'm still crawling out the cave.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So right around here. Nice. Anyone else?
I did another one that I feel like I'm part of.
Oh, yeah?
I feel like I'm part of like the shadows, just looking at my inner shadow and seeing what it is or what I'm looking for.
Oh, you're getting too deep with it, dude. That's like poetic. You should check out that emo music we were talking about also. All right, so this is good right here. Let's run this by. Remember the whole pyramid thing, and we're talking about like applying it to like different circumstances. So this is weird. Does anyone think this ever happened? Was this a real thing that Socrates was talking about?
I think it could have been a little bit of a reality, but then it could have been an illusion at the same time.
Yeah, so does anyone else think that this could have possibly ever happened?
Like literally?
Yeah, like literally.
Yeah.
All right, so remember, they're in a cave their entire lives, sitting, staring at a wall. Do you think this is actually possible to survive like this? Could someone really stay alive in this state without UVA, UVB rays from the sun, without any stimulation other than shadows on a wall, like rotting in a cave?
I don't think they'll be able to survive.
For like 20 years.
I mean, like I heard stories that some kidnappers keep their kidnapped children underground and raise them to serve their purpose. So I think it's kind of similar to this, isn't it?
Okay, Zach, that was actually a really good point. Yeah. Okay, so that does happen. This is a straight up experiment, though. I would say this looks like an experiment, and we didn't even. It's unfair to say that like time, or I guess the history of humans has gone smoothly in the direction of progress, but we didn't really even start thinking about experimentation properly until like the 1500s when Sir Robert Boyle invented the vacuum pump, and then we were able to like test like the rates that things fall in a real way, not just like dropping it off of Tower of Pisa or something. So like this looks like a controlled experiment. There's no way this is real, though. That was a good point. There's probably something that could resemble it, but to just like actually try and make people think that this is reality kind of thing, it seems so incredibly diabolical, like one of those crazy conspiracy theory like science, I guess, like government experiment things that you've heard of, right? There are weird ones. Like there's one where babies are never communicated with. All they do is change the baby and feed the baby, but they never talk to them.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone ever hear that experiment? So there's no name to the experiment. There's no other information whose government did it, and yet there's video footage of it. Like you can find the footage on YouTube. It's not fake. It's actually real footage. You know what happened to the babies that didn't get any like interaction? Does anyone know?
They kill themselves.
Well, I mean, they're babies, so they can't really kill themselves, but they did die, like after a month. They did start dying rapidly.
They didn't get the cure that they needed.
Babies need stimulation, like humans need stimulation, especially at that age. So I think the purpose of the experiment was supposed to be trying to get people to make up a language, see if humans could invent a language just naturally like that. And that, yeah, so that didn't work. But so we've got this really weird analogy here, or allegory. And the whole reason why I keep pointing to that is, do we have anything now that we could say is similar to this?
I don't want to go in the wrong route, but I feel like some people who feel like really bad about themselves, it would be like a comparison to that kind of thing, to Plato's cave. Because they're condemned in something that they feel like, no, this is not.
Well, so yeah, sure. Focus more though on the actual cave element, like this whole situation where someone is thinking something is reality and it's not. Is there anything that you see that is comparable? Because what I'm saying is Socrates, through Plato writing it out, took him 14 lines to make this like actual, just so that Glaucon could be like, I see. Is there anything we could point to today that would be so much easier than having to, elaborate on this weird situation in 14 lines?
Little kid?
Maybe.
I don't know if it's like I'm going a different route, but I maybe was thinking like technology. I feel like we're so concentrated on our phones or what's going on in social media that, for example, like the fire, like there could be something behind us, but we're like so changed to having like something on our screens or things like that, that we need to look up to reality, maybe enlighten ourselves a little with what's going on around us, our family or our jobs. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, totally.
Agree with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Because, sometimes technology can take over us. And sometimes we don't know. We don't spend time with the people around us because we're all on our phones and all that.
Right.
Technology.
Yeah, totally. So I know that they don't have this anymore, but if I just draw a square in a square, you're not going to know what it is, right? So what's this?
Camera?
Couch.
A camera? Damn, I am horrible at this. Yeah, a couch, right? This is like a lazy boy. See the little thing? Yeah. And then this is a TV. Yeah. I mean, we could just go much simpler and be like, this is a phone. Right? Because no one just sits and watches TV anymore. Even my niece will be sitting on the couch watching something, and she'll just be on her phone too, while we're watching the thing, and she'll just be sitting on her phone. She'll be saying that she's watching the show with us, but she's also doing something on Snapchat or whatever. So like,
my dad.
yeah. So yeah, a lot of people. It's not just kids. It's I have horse trails next to my house, and so there's these like cowboy vaquero guys, you know, rolling around. Some of them are like doing their lassos on their horses and stuff, and then others are just sitting there on their phone while they're riding their horse. It's crazy. So like, I mean, we're very attached to these things, right?
Mhm.
Isn't this so much easier? Plato had to lay out this really long thing, and all we have to do is be like, oh yeah, dude, I have a phone. Like, it's like this. Hey guys, what if you just never looked away from your phone? Okay, so where are we though? Where are we on that scale of in the cave, right? Let's talk about that for a second. So there's a couple of things that I pointed to that were just overall themes of, let's say, like freedom and what was the other one? Enlightenment. So
And change.
and chains. Well, we're talking. We had TV here. What's like a popular show? Any popular shows with the kids these days?
Oh.
Huh?
I like The Office.
Okay, so that's fair. That's a great show. But okay, who could name 5 characters off of The Office?
Michael Scott.
Okay, no one else talk though. Stephanie's gonna do it all by herself. You just volunteered. All right, so tell me 5 characters' names. Yeah, go. Keep going.
Michael Scott, Andrew Bernard, Pam Beasley, Angela, I forgot her last name.
That's fine.
Oscar Martinez.
And Oscar. Wow.
Kevin, Dwight Schrute.
Right, exactly. Who else could have done that? So like do the little raise your hand thing for The Office specifically. Who else could have named at least 5 people? I mean, she actually picked hard. Yeah, see, like, there we go. That was a good one, The Office. Yeah, Madison, was that you? Thank you for that one. A lot of times I don't pick the right show. I'm always like picking something that's kind of also a slap in the face, like you guys probably watch Riverdale or something like that, you know. And so then it gets into this awkward thing where where the students are like, are you despising us right now or something? I'm not. I'm not. Just yeah, so you could do that. You could name 5 of those characters, and if you couldn't for that show, you could at least do it for another show for sure.
I think I know another show that has the same amount of characters.
Yeah, so well, I think that was a good one though, because there's not too many characters. Like if we said like name 5 Marvel superheroes, that's like way too broad, you know. Name 5 Avengers. It's like, crap, there's so many damn Avengers now, right? So like, not I mean, The Office is good because there's a small enough cast there to really work with, but that's not the real point here. So you could easily name that, right? Well, we were talking about freedom. We're free, right? So no one was saying that they were straight up in the chains. Yeah, like I heard a couple of you guys say that you were on your way out of the cave, and then I heard someone say that they were out of the cave staring at the waters, checking out their reflection, fixing their hair, you know. How do we look at freedom like here? So I can walk down the street and do whatever I want pretty much, right? We're like the freest country in the world. I could walk over to someone's baby and drop kick it. Yeah? Wait, can I do that?
No.
You guys are like, and you keep bringing this up. It's really weird. We're starting to think there's a problem with you. No, there is a problem with me, but it's not that. I'm using that because it's supposed to startle you and you're like, oh wait, no, you can't do everything or whatever. How do we know what we are able to do? with
Whether
our
it's
freedom.
right or wrong.
Huh?
Whether it's right or wrong.
How do we know if it's right or wrong?
Laws that we follow.
The law, yeah.
Ah, there we go. We have laws. Constitution. There we go. We don't just have open freedom. We have we live in a democratic republic, and we have a constitution which has our laws in it. Okay, so First Amendment. You have 5 rights according to the First Amendment. Who can name all 5 of those rights? Don't start yet. You can only so if you say you can do it, you have to name all of them and no help.
I think
right?
I can try.
You think you can do it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Oh, hold on. Who else thinks they can do it? Come on, guys. Someone else. No one thinks that they can name all 5?
I can name like 3.
Okay. Anton, tell us. What are the 5?
Freedom to bear arms.
Nope. You're already wrong. That's the Second Amendment. The bearing arms. You know what though? Don't feel bad because a lot of people throw that one in there. Yeah, that's the Second Amendment. Your First Amendment, you have 5 rights. Anyone else? Or we're gonna have to go to yeah.
Freedom of speech.
Okay, there we go. You got speech.
Freedom of religion.
Religion.
Freedom of protesting.
Yep. That's it.
How many do I have? 3? Oh shit.
3. I mean, you said you had 3. You can't think of any more. Don't look it up. I heard
No,
it.
no, that's not me.
Someone's all typing, like trying to figure it out.
Is there freedom to vote?
I mean, you do. What would that be called?
Unless you're 18.
Is one of them like freedom to land?
Huh?
To, like own land or something like
that? No. We actually, that was in the, I think the preamble, and then we took it out because it's too tangible, right? We said happiness. We got rid of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property, or life, liberty, and property, and we made it the pursuit of happiness. See how that's weak sauce. So no, it's let's see. So you've got speech, religion, protest, press, the press, right? Anyone?
Is one of them like freedom of like competition, so you're able to own businesses and something like that, like compete with others?
No, that's just capitalism.
Oh, I guess.
But yeah, you have that right. It's just not in the First Amendment, or I don't think anywhere there.
Freedom of politics.
Politics. So that would be, I mean, most people's politics are their religion, if you think about it. Freedom. There's one more that at least that everyone.
Freedom of oh no, we already said speech, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think one at the top of my head.
So we said press, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last is petition.
Oh.
What does that mean?
Like we can get people's opinion of certain topics.
Is that what we're talking about when they say freedom to petition?
Like if you want to roll out like a certain government type of.
There we go. So like petition? Do you petition the president?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you? How does that work?
You vote.
Okay, well, so you can vote for him, but this is a little different. So you can't, can you talk to the president?
Yeah.
Not in person, I guess.
No, not really. I mean, you can get him to write a happy birthday note to you. I think you can pay for that or something. But, or at least the last president, you were able to. Who would you petition if you have a problem?
Local municipalities.
There we go. Your representatives. This is petition your representatives. So my question for you is, who are your representatives? Does anyone know? Huh?
Family.
Like your specific representatives is what I'm asking. The whole reason why I'm asking this is we like to think that we are free, right? That we're at least the dude under here is the dude who's crawling out of the cave, right? But I mean, if we don't even know our freedoms or how to even express our freedoms, how free are we? Is the kind of thing. So like when we talk about the couch and the phone or the TV, where are the chains?
The television.
Are the chains in the television? Where are the chains? You're gonna say something, Alex?
Our eyes, like we're just focused on the screen.
Metaphorically, I would say the media.
Okay.
What the media feeds us to.
So media, yeah, whatever they feed you, sure, okay. But the chains themselves, though. So they control whatever is on the screen. You've got 6 corporations at the top that own all like 90% of the news media out there, which is crazy. That's why you never hear anything bad about Disney, because Disney is one of them. Why would you hear anything bad about Disney? They own the news. So, like, what would happen if they started reporting something shady on Disney? And then apart from that, just look at their employees. They're like, you say something bad about Disney, I will knife you in the brain. No one's ever talked to someone who works at Disneyland? They're really into it.
I didn't even know Disneyland was part of what you said. I didn't know it was part of, like, I don't even know how to say it anymore.
Right, that they had that much power. They own Marvel now too, right? Yeah, it's all, they own a lot of stuff.
I didn't know they were the news media at all, or they were.
Yeah, they own them, right? It's the corporation at the top. So what is the chains? I like Alex's answer in the sense that, so there's part of it that whatever is coming at you is filtered by whatever someone else wants to interpret it as, or even show you what they're reporting on and stuff like that. You could find other news sources. It is more difficult, but it is possible. But as far as the chains here, like, there is no one stopping you from turning your head, stopping you from using your computer. You guys, if you have internet access, then you have the capability of pretty much finding out anything, and you don't have to go to that drunk uncle like I used to find out about, like, weird things. You can look up almost anything, and yes, you have to filter the information that's coming through, and there's a ton of it. There's a ton of bad information, but you still have the ability to move your head. Whereas, so I guess our eyes, right, are where we choose to look. We do have chains, but it's based off of off of us and where we're deciding to look. Do we want to look at the crazy things that are happening in the Middle East, or with, you know, something in politics, when we're just like so drained and we don't want to think about that right now? We just want to go and scroll through our Snapchat feed and look at memes of, you know, cats and people falling off stairs and stuff, right? That's so much better. Or makeup tutorials, right? Who chooses that?
I mean, I would after a long day.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, who's choosing what's coming up in your feed? Like, you follow different things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess that's as far as we need to go on that. A lot of the times we think we're further out of the cave than we really are. I think, Zach, that was a good way to look at it. Thinking, well, I think I'm learning and I'm growing in my understanding, at least more than I was before. But so maybe I'm not fully out of the cave yet. But then I am always surprised, even now, at just how much I end up still feeling like I'm stuck here, even, is all I'm saying about that. Really quick, so that we can go on a break, let's touch on a couple more points about this. What is so limiting about a shadow? I think someone was already touching on it before, but let's talk about that a little bit more. What's so limiting about a shadow?
It's more like a silhouette, and you don't have any idea of the depth of the object or the color.
It's like a cape.
So yeah, that's good. What's this?
It's silhouette. Batman.
That's Batman.
Yeah.
What else? What else is it?
It's a cat.
It's a cat. What else is it?
Symbol.
Huh?
It's a symbol. Like
well, yeah. No, tell me what it's a silhouette of. What it's a shadow of. Like, imagining.
Doggy.
COVID-19.
Dog. Yeah. All right. What's that? Oh, that was bad.
Shadow puppet.
The shadow of a bell.
Unicorn.
Okay, it's a dog. It's the same dog. It's sideways. My whole point, I just drew it so bad that time. My whole point is, right, you couldn't tell what it was from here, but if you saw this from this angle and from that angle, you might be able to figure out that it's not Batman, and that it's not Pikachu, that it's not even a cat because the jaw and the longer snout, that this is probably going to be like a Doberman or German Shepherd or something. Yeah. If I drew it better. Remember, we're still working with my crappy drawing skills. So my whole point with that is, like what you were saying, how do you pronounce your name? Murtaza?
Yeah, you can just call me Ollie.
Okay, Ollie. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's my bad. So what you were saying, Ollie, is that like you're only getting one thing. It's very limited information. Yeah. So we've only got like one angle. So it's like 2 dimensions. It's flat. You can't see anything on the inside. And then there's only one perspective going on there, right? Unless you see it from multiple angles. And now that's 2 perspectives, but you're not normally getting that with shadows, especially when we're just talking analogies here. The other one here is, has anyone ever heard the analogy of the 4 blind dudes in a pit with an elephant?
It's so familiar.
Yeah, it's pretty famous, but so there's, do I have to draw this? Okay, so we're just gonna imagine this is the pit. All right, so there's 4 blind dudes in there, and they're told they're in a pit with an elephant, and so they're feeling the elephant. One dude grabs an ear, and he's like, "Oh, it's like it's this rubbery, flat. It's like a fan." And then another guy grabs tusk, and he's like, oh, it's more like a spear. And then another guy grabs the trunk, and he's like, oh no, it's like a snake. And then another guy grabs the foot or the leg, and he's like, no, it's like a tree, the trunk of a tree. Are they wrong?
Oh, not necessarily.
Yeah, they're not necessarily wrong. They're trying to describe it according to something else they already know. But they're wrong in the sense that they don't have the full picture. No, an elephant is not like a snake. Its trunk is, but you didn't know that there was a whole bunch else going on with that elephant, right? So they're all squabbling, saying that it's all these different things instead of the other thing. And in reality, they've only got a glimpse of it through their limited perception of the world or what they're observing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. So,
This is the problem with shadows and with that. So another thing that comes up in this is like the theme of bias. What are the things that we have? So we all have at least one perspective, right?
mm-hmm.
The problem, though, is when we refuse to think that there's any other valid perspective. So what are some of the things that maybe we've believed our entire lives, right? In the cave, our entire lives. What are some things that we've believed our entire life and still believe today?
Santa Claus is alive.
You don't still believe in Santa, right?
I mean,
I mean, I don't know why parents give him all the credit. It's kind of weird. I guess it's because he's like this guy who could be watching you at any point, but that just kind of sounds creepy to me. So, I mean, but I'm so far removed from it, I guess. What are some of the things that you've believed for a very long time that you have strong beliefs on that you don't remember when you started to believe it or not? Even just like a topic, like what about sports? Your favorite team, have they always been your favorite team?
no.
No? Anyone else?
I mean, it could be anything like the fact that we are animals.
Okay.
Like some belief. I don't know.
Yeah, see, it gets a little trickier there, huh? Right? Some people have always believed that, other people haven't. Some people change that belief. What else? What else is like a clear, strong opinion that you have that you've always had? Does anyone still not like broccoli? What else? Like, seriously, no sports? I thought sports would have been important. What about politics? Has anyone always been, you don't have to say which party, but has anyone always been that party?
No.
No? Anyone want to raise their hand and tell me I'm right about something? Has anyone always been that party?
Wait, are you asking like something that we've believed in that we changed, or something that we still believe in?
That you've never changed, and
Oh.
you don't even remember when you started to believe it.
That's hard.
I would say religion.
There
Religion
we
for
go.
me.
Boom. Religion is the main one that people probably wouldn't, or that you should think of. So, Madison, great one. Yeah. So some people, right? You're just would say, I am this because I was born this, right? If you're Catholic and you're baptized as a baby, I'm just Catholic because I've always been that way. Anything else? Anyone else?
Water. Can insects work? Like
What was that?
Being scared of a spider.
Oh,
And
so even phobias. That's a good point. Like maybe you don't remember when it started. Maybe there was some traumatic thing that happened back in the day or something. Okay, that's another good one. Religion works pretty good though. We'll focus on religion with that. So just to get through it, the whole idea though is, so biases, you might think that biases are bad, right? In and of itself, a bias is not bad. It is just your opinion, though, or it is something you strongly believe. So the bias is not the problem. The bias only becomes a problem when we would say that I don't need to hear the other perspective. I don't need to see the other angle. I'm going to blindly believe my bias. See, if you're biased towards something, you actually have a lot more information about that thing, just naturally, because you care more about that thing. If you are a particular religion, you know more about the things that are important to that religion than you do about other things. And more important for us right now is more than other people in the class necessarily, right? If you are Buddhist or you are Muslim, you probably have more insight into Buddhism or Islam than anyone else in the class, unless those people are also Buddhist or, Muslim. So you guys get the point, right? Like that you do have insight that way. The problem, I'm not saying give up your biases, remove the shackles or anything like that. I'm saying another thing. So we've got Plato, who wrote this. So Socrates is the guy in it. He never wrote anything. He just went around asking people questions and annoying them, and then eventually getting sentenced to death for it. But Plato, the guy who followed him around and wrote everything, that was his disciple. Plato's disciple was Aristotle, and he's the guy that we get all of Western logic for. He's the one who discovered or started categorizing it. And we're going to talk about logic and fallacies in next week or something like that. But my whole point is Aristotle said this really important thing, I think is very poignant for what we're talking about. He says, it is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a matter without believing it. So meaning you can keep your bias, you can keep believing the thing, but it's really important to be able to consider the other perspective, try to understand it as that other person understands it, right? To not just get a flat view of it, but and we're going to talk more about what that is. Like in your summaries, right? If you don't summarize something correctly, you leave something out, then it's not the true thing, right? You're missing an element of it. So you want to be able to understand something in its entirety, and then you can still reject it, right? Just because you understand it doesn't mean you believe it. So I think it's pretty important if we're going to try and make sure that we're not being controlled by our bias or being limited in a sense by, like putting our own chains on, then we need to be able to entertain other ideas and then reject them. But when we reject them, we don't reject them because, well, I can't believe that because I'm already this thing. I reject it because this, and this, right? It's also okay to question the things that you believed in, right? Are the Angels really the best baseball team? Are you sure about that, right? Or whatever sports, is LeBron James really the best ball player? Did everyone forget about Michael Jordan? I mean, now you could also then go through the statistics and you could map it out and you could compare the two guys in the circumstances. It still does. There are still a ton more variables that are impossible to really get the data on, like how their teammates were really factoring in, and if they had a cold when they were playing, all that stuff. There's so many intricate parts that maybe you wouldn't be able to factor in, but the more things that we can factor in to it, the better view we have, and then we can actually like push on other people's ideas in a way that is, I guess, more objective, and we can even push on our own ideas, right? So the cool thing is, like, I have a lot of biases that I've had for a long time, but they are not necessarily blind biases. They're things that I have struggled with. And some parts of those things that I believe I have realized were not important. And so I've actually been like, yeah, actually, I don't even care about that part. That's not as important as this part over here. And so I've narrowed down what's important to me. And I've also been able to remove excess. I've been able to figure out what is the most important components and then what is not necessarily true or even matters for me to even care about. And then it's not slowing me down. It's not stopping me from perceiving what is true and what is a wrapped up shiny box that's got a pile of dog crap in it. You know, that's another metaphor there. So anyway, let's take a break and then we will get on to the next section. Thank God. Thank you for working with me. So we didn't actually finish answering the question, was she wrong? So does anyone think she was wrong, or did anyone change their view on that?
No, I'm trying to put it on the thing.
Anyone?
I got class right now anyways.
Anton, I think you left your mic on. So I'm eating. I'm taking a bite of food. This is your chance to talk. Who still feels like she's wrong, or who's changed their mind and thinks that it was all right, at least, that she ate her cat?
I still think she's wrong. But I understand like the other point of view, like her like classmates that chose like she was right. I found that like their comments were like, okay, she really cared about her cat. She had a true connection, I guess. Maybe they were like soulmates as a good friendship type of thing. But I still find it a little bit I don't know, just wrong in a sense, trying to paint that picture that she in the first place had in mind when the cat was still alive, that if it were to die, that she was going to eat him, and that she had to promise herself that. For me, I feel like there was no need for her to make a promise. Nevertheless, that she had to like eat the cat. She could have promised something else, like, oh, I promise I'm gonna bury it next to where I'd be buried if I were to die soon or whatnot, or if I have him cremated, its ashes are gonna sit on a shelf in my house that I could see him every day and not forget him. But the fact that she had to promise that she was gonna eat him, it's still wrong to me. And seeing the picture, it's still just like that thought in my mind. It's just like, why though? Like, why couldn't you promise something else? You know? But I'm still down with like my answer that she was still wrong.
Okay, fair. That's fair enough. How about this? You could even say, so it's disturbing, right? You could say something like that. You could say it's gross. I still think it's gross. You could, depending, what is your criteria here, right? There's a better way to grieve, but this is the thing. Everyone grieves in a different way. So what are her motives maybe in doing it? Is she like this sick person who's getting off on eating the animal? Or is it like a sorrowful thing and she's just trying to find peace? It's hard to find. So it's hard to judge someone else's motives. It's hard to even judge your own motives because we lie to ourselves all the time and try to like justify things. But depending on like when we get into evaluation here, when we are evaluating if she's right or wrong, we really need to dial in on what our criteria is. And so, because the next step, right, after evaluating, if you get to policy, if you get to creating or synthesizing something else with it, taking it further, well, okay, let's say we still think she's wrong. Should she be punished?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
You think she should be punished for eating her cat?
Mm-hmm.
What's the punishment you would give to her then?
I would probably give her a punishment of no more having pets in the house.
Maybe ban from pets. I know they have like a blue dot for people who've like child molesters and stuff like that, or would they have like a different colored dot on a grid to know like, oh, these people have eaten their pets or something like that? Maybe
maybe like a red dot to indicate that, yeah, she did eat her cat, but
don't give this lady animals, she'll eat them.
All
right.
She's like a witch.
Okay.
I think she doesn't really eat her cat. She's like eating her cat's corpse. So I think that there's a difference. At least in common sense.
See? And then let's think about a different circumstance. What if did anyone ever hear about the Oregon Trail or the Donner Party, where people starved, they were starving, and people were dying, and then they ended up eating the people that had died. They practiced cannibalism, but it was to survive. They didn't survive, by the way, but the circumstance here, that as opposed to in Papua New Guinea, was the last place to stop doing cannibalism in the 70s. Not even that long ago. Did anyone know that the 70s there were still people practicing cannibalism in like a normal way? So their cannibalism was not for sustenance. Their cannibalism was a kind of power move, like I eat my enemy's heart to show that, to gain their power, but then also you're like, what's up? Like Mike Tyson saying he's going to eat your babies, that kind of thing. I know I'm kind of, maybe that's not the best representation of it, but it's a pretty good view of the difference between eating to survive, they're already dead, and then killing someone and then eating their heart or their tongue or something like that to show the rest of your enemies, don't F with me, I'm like Tupac. Something like that. Tupac didn't eat anyone, by the way. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So there's difference, right? You see difference in motive there. And then also, does this make it a little bit more acceptable or less acceptable? Well,
sorry. With that being said, so what you're asking from us a little bit more is to actually like dwell a little bit more in the reading, to like actually see different points of views in the scenario. For example, like if she were in a different location where it is acceptable to eat like their pets, and there it could be like a form of respect. Is that the type of thing that you also want us to kind of like see that scenario, that like, oh, maybe somewhere else is acceptable, kind of be a little bit more open-minded than just thinking about here how we're used to like, oh no, you don't eat pets here?
Well, so you use really perfect language there, Stephanie. I do want you to consider it for sure, like in just us wrestling with the ideas. I'm not trying to change your mind though.
Because it's so then divided now, because if there's and I don't know, I'm like, I don't want to like just blurt out a name, and no, but let's say that there is a place, I don't know, a specific city or state or whatnot, that it's acceptable and it's actually like a form of respect that it's like a sense that, oh, this is how a pet owner shows how much they love their pet by eating them, like after they passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going on, I don't know, like for years, or it's a custom, or it's something done, then
Sure.
they're not divided here, because if so, then I'd say like, oh yeah, she played or showed her form of respect to her cat, like dear near to her heart, the best in the best form, or in the most respectful way, or in the most caring way. So I'm divided then, and I would be like, oh yeah, 50-50. Yes, she's wrong. No, she's not wrong.
Well, okay. Let's look at that just a little bit longer, though, for a second. So now what we're doing is we are looking at what is acceptable in society. And then also, remember, there's a difference between what's acceptable in society and if there is an objectively true moral good that is outside of all societies. Do you believe that that's a thing? Or do you believe that it's just based off the society and moral good or bad is really just completely subjective? Because let's use this to maybe make it a little more difficult, Stephanie, because like you said, right, that's a kind of, well, their motive in it, they're doing it out of respect and stuff like that. What happens if there's a society where pedophilia is supported, it is acceptable, and it is actually taught, it is government ordained, and everyone in society must participate? The whole society is down with it. Is that acceptable? Is that morally good because all of society has agreed that it's morally good? Or would you say that outside of that society, that is not okay?
So it's like looking at it from different perspectives, right?
Yeah, well, hold on though. What I'm saying is, is there truth? I'm asking you, is there truth, moral truth, that is true even outside of society, regardless of whose perspective there is? There is a larger perspective above everything. Is there? I'm asking you. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Like, does religion does this, right? Is there a moral good or bad that is outside? Because this is a criteria. If this is true, then it's a criteria for how you should judge pretty much anything that fits within it, right? So let's say if there's a whole society that is down with pedophilia, you guys all get what that means, right? Let's be specific. Everyone in their family is supposed to do that with their children. Is that acceptable? Is that if it's good in that society, does that mean it's good? Or is there something outside of that that says no matter what, that is wrong, it doesn't matter what they say?
Like sometimes
outside of that says it's wrong.
Sometimes it could be bad.
I mean, I don't think there's a universal standard for the truth or the moral standard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be fluid and depends on which society the standard or the moral standard could change. So one thing, sort of like example, eating pets in our society could be morally wrong, but maybe in other society that we're not familiar with could be just nothing, could be something that's acceptable.
Like it's acceptable. So in a society, might makes right. Maybe if I decide I want to walk outside today and I see someone who I just don't like their face, I can bash their skull in, and it's perfectly morally good because in the society, if I can do it, then it's okay. If I can overcome that person. So are we saying that so long as everyone in society agrees with that it is okay, that this is where our morals come from, and there's nothing outside of that would define that or dictate that from a larger perspective, that is bad, like evil, like the concept of good and evil here?
It could be, yeah.
I mean, like, I think this is like the conflict between like traditional culture and modernized concepts, something like that. Like
maybe.
Like some places they have traditions that. So I think that the bottom line of our society of defining good or wrong is like, does this thing have any impact on others? Does it harm other people? I think that's like the bottom line of for us to define good and bad. But I think that's not necessarily how maybe some of our tradition work, because it's kind of, I mean, how we define good and bad could be different from now, then and now. So I think, well, if most of people in the society agree with the standard, I think you just have to follow the culture there. You might not like it, you can just avoid it, avoid going there or something like that. But I don't think we have the right to judge other people's culture, as long as most of the people there accept it. So I don't think there's a standard.
Even if it's pedophilia or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hold on. Let's so now entertain the thought, everyone, right? Everyone here. If you did believe that there was an outside criteria that dictated that was wrong, what would that criteria, what is that criteria, what is the bone to pick? What is the problem with that scenario? Why would pedophilia be wrong?
Well, because I think most of them in modern society, we treat our pets as our family, and
well, you're going back to the cats thing, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, don't go back to the cats thing yet. Like, you have a really good point for that, but this is taking it a little bit further. I want to know what you guys think about what the criteria would be for if something is right or wrong, like why pedophilia might be wrong, like a case, a criteria for why it would be wrong.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. Go for it.
I feel like
Okay, I'll make it really quick. Sorry. Okay,
right.
I was just gonna say that it kind of takes away the rights of the children. I mean, a lot of times when I feel like when pedophilia occurs, obviously, a lot of the cases, and I would say if not all, the child does not want that to occur. So it's taking away the rights from the child.
There we go. So I didn't use the word rape intentionally because rape already implies it. Consent. Consent is the criteria. This is the reason why I've dragged this out, is because I want you guys to really understand what criteria needs to be like. So in the scenario of if pedophilia or rape or anything like that is involved here, it's about the consent, right? What's the difference between being homosexual and being a pedophile? It's the consent, right? So people can be mutually homosexual together. That is different than someone manipulating a child. Why is consent a factor with a child, even if the child is convinced that it's fine?
Because sometimes people do the wrong thing.
Well, sure, but a little bit more. What's why is consent an issue with a child, even if the child says yes?
Because they're not.
They don't have.
What? Someone was jumping in there.
Go ahead.
Oh, because the child just doesn't understand. They're not like actually physically developed enough to be able to, like, agree with what's happening with them.
There we go. their brain is not at the same level. They are easily manipulated, so this person can convince them of something. So even if they say it's okay, it's because they have been Stockholmed or brainwashed or something like that. They have been manipulated. Their mind is not capable of making those kinds of decisions. And that's why in that scenario, when age is different, the key factor here, your criteria for why that doesn't work, is the consent, because that person's rights, that person's ability to choose is not really operating properly. So yeah, all that you guys said there, that's something that you should, regardless of if you are, who was it? There, Zach was making some pretty deep or like advanced. He was making very advanced arguments about society and how morals are either developed and or how we should look at them possibly. But if you are going to talk about any of that stuff, you should definitely always factor in criteria about stuff like consent or people's rights, because there's your rights, right? You can do the whole issue where laws even come into play is when what you're doing now affects another person, right? If you can do something without anyone else even knowing, or because it doesn't affect them in any way, then where's there even a need for a law, right? You're not stealing, you're not killing, you're not hurting in any way. So that criteria right there is like the number one criteria that you're going to probably utilize in this class when we're talking about moral issues that involve two parties. Does that make sense? Really trying to dial that in for you guys, like make sure that you understand that. And then of course there's other criteria that will develop from circumstance to circumstance. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about so, because then when we get to the point of should she be judged or should she be punished, right? Well, I can say that she's gross. I could be like, yeah, that's gross. That woman clearly has a bad view of what, like, a lot of things, right? Her perspective and the way that she's thinking about how to, I guess, mourn the loss of her cat, and even thinking that he would be okay with it, or that she could even communicate that with him. There's all kinds of problems or red flags that at least I would see there. But as far as saying she should be punished, well, if she should be punished, then you also got to think about worse situations. Is that a worse situation than, let's say, Mike Vick and the way that he had his, dog fighting ring and stuff like that? What about the ways that we treat animals, the animals that you eat, the animals that you do eat, right? The ones that you buy in the perfect clean packages in the store, and you don't think about how the animal was treated beforehand, because this animal was already dead. This animal lived a happy life. And then it was eaten after, when it couldn't feel it anymore. Ollie, was it you who said that? Someone said, well, the cat, oh no, actually, Zach, it was you, I think. You said that, well, it's not really the cat anymore. It's just the corpse of the cat, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one factor. But what if the animal's been tortured their entire life for the sake of feeding you? Now that becomes more morally wrong, and we don't punish people for doing that. So if you would want to punish her for this, then you got to really check your motives, right? Is this based solely on your bias just because you're so repulsed by what she's doing?
Mm-hmm.
Or is this also how you would treat everyone else, and you're going to do some you want to do some Thanos stuff and go around to all the industries in America and snap your fingers and wipe out all the wrongdoing? I mean, obviously Thanos was a little bit more he was just like wipe them out randomly, but we're saying you would, I guess this would be more vigilantism to go around and, okay, you guys get the point, right? So I'm not trying to change your mind on that. I am trying to make sure that you are considering everything as far as it goes and understand your bias while still being able to hold it, right? Like I told you, I still eat meat, and I'm not going to stop eating meat, but I do see the problems with the meat industry, and it does change the way that I do eat meat, but I still feel like I need it. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like what the morals?
Uh-huh. Yeah, the morally, I mean, morals really do kick in there. And when it comes to, like, Zach, what you were bringing up, my argument is that even if something is acceptable in society, it doesn't make it right necessarily. It could still be wrong. It's not right just because everyone else says it's right. If you do go that route, you're going to have a whole bunch of other problems as you go. But there is still a lot of important points to be made in the route that you were going with that. So that was really good stuff to bring up and to even wrestle with further as we go. But also there is something to be said for, I mean, in America, there's a lot of things we do that are not right, and we still say that they are right. And if we don't push back against stuff, then, I mean, then it's just majority rules, right? It's, well, everyone else says it's okay, so it must be okay. And that becomes becomes problematic. Like Black Mirror kind of stuff. Anyone watch that? It's
Yes.
good stuff. Yes. Cool. Really quick, you do want to write this down in your notes. Content plus context equals meaning. So we talked about the cat, and then we put it in different scenarios. The context. Well, what happens if you're starving? What happens if you are in China at the dog meat festival? Or, well, so I would argue that that's morally wrong because they're actually torturing the dogs before they eat them, right? But that's adding a different criteria in there, right? If you're just eating the animal for sustenance, that's one thing. If you're treating it poorly intentionally or just because you don't care passively, there's another criteria that makes it morally wrong, or at least in your evaluation process of right or wrong. So notice, so the content is what's happening, and then the context is, so content, the arguments that are being made in the reading. Context, different scenarios that might be different or might play out differently. And that you always need both. So now we're going to talk for a second, or I want to point out to you that we're always in a conversation. So academia, is anyone like kind of scared of the whole idea of writing academically? Does it kind of intimidate you?
What do you mean?
So academically, like scholarly writing, like you have to write essays and use sources and try to be as smart as all the other people out there that are like PhDs and everything like that. No, nothing? Okay. Well, it was always intimidating for me. It's one thing to write a comment on someone else's post or something like that in a casual way, but when it comes to academics, then you start worrying about your grammar. You start worrying about if you're talking out of your butt, right? If you're missing information. So the whole thing is this right here is saying the same thing: conversation over isolation. So there is never just going to be content without a context. They're always there. You're never going to have a conversation that is isolated, meaning you're never going to start talking about something without it being a response to something else. I'm hungry. what's the context of that? Well, my stomach is growling, right? So everything that I'm saying is coming from somewhere. It's a response to something. So that means that everything you say, you're responding to something else. Yeah? That's where I'm trying to go with it. Here, I'm going to give you something to respond to. All right? And we'll come back to this idea. It has to do with the other reading. So yeah, I'm going to have to speed through this. So you have, can you see my screen still?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So you have two, this is a free write. I'm going to give you a couple minutes while I eat the rest of my eggs. What you need to do is you need to pick one of these. So pick one of the quotes below and explain what it means. Do you agree or disagree and why? So you see it, right? These are your directions. Then here are the two quotes, this one and this one. So write about one of those. Give you 3 minutes, go. All right, try and wrap it up. And then anyone who has any ideas, tell me what you think about this, how you answered this.
For me, actually, all right, anybody can go, right?
Yeah, anyone. But I think
he who does not die, he who dies with the most toys. I disagree with that.
Okay.
Because, you know, we don't play as adults or as we evolve, and as we evolve into human beings or we grow older, we don't play with toys as much. We only play with them until they wear out.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. There's definitely something there. Kethan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, pretty much the same quote, right? He who dies with the most toys wins. I disagree with that quote. I wrote down, I disagree for the fact that when you die, you can't take anything with you. I would also like to add it's more of a win for whomever you are leaving behind.
Hey, there you go. Look at all the entitled brats who end up with like trust funds and everything like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, probably the strongest point you could ever make about that is you can't take it with you. That was perfect. Good point there. What are we referring to when we talk about toys, though? Because there was a good point that Anton made with the whole, we get tired of toys, right? Something might have been exciting when we first got it, and then it becomes boring, for sure. But what are the things that we would think of now as toys, though?
Gaming products, consoles.
Gaming? Okay, sure. There's that. What else, though? Anyone else?
I think it could be a metaphor for like wealth or reputation.
Right. Well, see, now we're looking at the reading, though, aren't we? What are some of the things that were brought up in the reading that are the kind of toys we're talking about? So wealth, but what are toys that you get with that wealth?
Like cell phones and
Sure.
computer technology.
Okay.
Right.
Cars.
There we go. Cars. I'm sorry. Do you commute in your Lamborghini? Is that what you use as your commuter vehicle? In your
No.
does anyone use their McLaren for picking up their grandma and taking her out to brunch? Or getting to work faster? It's a fast car, right? You don't take that on like heavy traffic days? No? Weave in and out of traffic? Okay, not you, but anyone else in the world? Do you think anyone does that?
Yeah, probably.
Really?
No,
I mean,
I don't think they
maybe.
do.
I mean, maybe on a Friday night because what are they trying to do with that toy then?
No, rich people could be crazy.
That's true. I think, well, there's an argument there. They could be crazy, we could also all be crazy, and the only difference is that they have the ability to really show how crazy they are. What if everyone's just like Justin Bieber, like from like 5 years ago? And the only difference is opportunity. So, because if you just had a whole bunch of money dumped on you and then, you know, got a Lamborghini and then rode around and everyone's trying to take pictures of you, you might get a little hostile and do something really dumb.
It's like
Who knows?
paparazzi.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. You're right. So cars, boats, anything like
Motorcycle.
big houses. Yeah, exactly. So these are toys, and then you can't take them with you. Do they make you happy?
Yeah. In a
Yeah?
way.
For a certain amount of time.
For a
Maybe. Yeah.
certain amount of time. That is a very fair point. Do they satisfy you? Do they, like, in your soul? Do they make you? Do they, like? Do you become happy in life because you have that thing?
Probably only when you're driving.
Yeah, but when it grows, when it wears out, we don't want to touch it.
And when you're driving it, when is it happening? Is it happening when no one's looking, or is it happening when you pull up at a light and there's some pretty girls or pretty guys sitting on the corner and they're staring at you and they're like, dang? Is it happening then especially?
Yeah, because they're watching you.
Right.
Having that attention on you makes them like.
There we go. And then we start to see where your happiness or satisfaction is coming from a little bit more. And it's tied to that toy, to the thing. But what is this called? Like, what do we use things like this for? What good is a Rolex over? Huh?
It's like a status thing.
I was gonna say, yeah, or like compensating for something else that maybe missed.
There we go. So status, compensating, at the very lowest level of compensating is simply, well, I can't just walk up to everyone and tell them I'm rich. So if I have this on my wrist, they'll just know it, right? So in that sense, like, it still sounds really bad. Oh, that sounds really bad still. But you get the point of like what a status symbol is, or a thing like, and it's in the text, right? You guys were reading examples and then different things we have, like, what's the difference between just like a normal purse that you might find at a Walmart or a Target and a Coach bag or a, you know, Louis Vuitton bag or something? Like, will they both do the same thing?
No.
No, they're not going to do the same thing.
They're bags, yeah.
Right? I mean, they're both going to be able to carry your things, but like, what else are you paying for here?
Idealized for fashion.
Yeah, fashion. You're paying for people to think, oh, you're fashionable. Wow. Look at how cool you are. Okay, good. What about that second one? Did anyone touch on that? I'd really like to know. If someone wrote on that second quote, I would really like to hear your thoughts. Does anyone, or did you guys have issues even understanding what it's saying?
A little, but I guess like looking over it, I sometimes think that people who are rich are douchebags. So the fact that sometimes you're shown a person, or like you judge them for how they're dressed, like, oh, like they're very fancy, or they have like brands all over them, you know, like shirt and their purse and brand. That doesn't always mean that if they're not showing it through objects, it doesn't make them that they're not douchebags. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. So you could take it, well, that would be an argument the other way. Now, so think about this, or, well, let me know what you guys think. So there are rich people out there. There's a ton of rich people. Now, it really depends on what they spend their money on, though. Possibly. Can you name, so there are no reasons, this is what the quote says, there are no reasons for owning or wanting a Lamborghini or any of those supercars. So the same reason that you would give for owning that would also prove why you're a douchebag, is what this quote is saying. It's a little wordy. So tell me, what do you guys think? Are there any reasons for owning one of those cars that won't at the same time also prove that you're a douchebag? Anyone?
Maybe if you're rich and you want to, like, I don't know, like, how do you say, gold diggers would want to go in.
Okay, so what are you saying?
Like
I want a Lamborghini because it will what?
Attract people.
It will attract people. Okay. So anyone else think about this? Think about this, guys. So if I want to attract people by having things, like you're wanting to, rather than attract people to you and your own personality, you're wanting to attract people by being like, look at my cool thing. And then who are you trying to attract? Are you trying to attract people with depth, or are you trying to attract chicken heads or gold diggers? Are you trying to attract people who are, yeah?
I'm gonna go with the chicken heads.
Right? Yeah. So you are not really trying to attract people of substance. You're just trying to have a party, right? Yeah. So that kind of sounds to me a little douchey, though. I don't know. So I'm kind of getting the point of this quote here. What is another reason? Surely there's another reason to own one of these cars that doesn't also prove you're a douchebag. What's another reason? Someone.
Maybe.
I feel like.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. I was just gonna say that basically, sorry. I was just gonna say that if there was maybe a greater good behind it, but it has to be very sensitive and careful, because there are people that you witness that say that they have good intention behind it and they're doing it for the greater good and giving it to someone who is less fortunate, but then they want to record it and post it so they can show everyone how giving they are. And I feel like that's taking away the whole point. You know what I mean? Because you want people to know that you are able to give out stuff like that. Like, does that make sense?
It does make sense. That is actually, so that's really kind of where you have to go with it. So why don't we try that out now? Is there a greater good that can come from you buying a Lamborghini, even if it's buying it for someone else? Now tell me this. Would your mother do better if you bought her a Lamborghini or if you bought her a house? So let's say she doesn't already have a house.
A house?
A house, most definitely.
A house, right? Okay. Here, let me take that a little further. If you buy a Lamborghini and you have not bought your mother a house or another car, say a McLaren, because those are much more expensive. If you buy a McLaren and you haven't already bought your mother a house, you are most definitely a douchebag.
Yeah, fair point.
You don't care about anything else.
Right. So okay. So now let's go back to that point, because that was a really good point to make. What can you do? How can you, for the greater good, buy or do something with a Lamborghini that will truly help someone in a way that something else wouldn't help them much more, like buying a house?
But I think like the sentence states that it's owning a Lamborghini. That means not sharing with others, right? So
Yeah,
I don't think.
I'm just trying to be flexible with it, but you're right.
Oh.
No, you're right. Owning it too. I mean, because it's not just like you. Okay, yeah. Come on, give me something. Anything that would be a moral good thing that you could do with it.
Maybe when you were done driving it and enjoying it yourself, you donate it to charitable cause?
Maybe you could go and pick up little kids with cancer and drive them around the racetrack or something, or downtown. Maybe, hey, it's like fulfilling a dream. You don't even have to count that as one of their wishes or something. You know, they can meet one of the Avengers instead, right? Robert Downey Jr. Can't. Yeah. So.
Or I think maybe like when you drive by someone and someone see your cool cars, and they can have topics to chat with their friends, like, oh, I saw a Lamborghini today, yay.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, if that's gonna make someone's day better.
Yeah, and enlighten someone's one day.
Get a shot for their Instagram, like yeah. Where you see it parked outside of like a restaurant, and so you go and you stand in front of it and take a picture with it and act like it's yours.
Yeah.
So you can deceive girls into sleeping with you. Oh, I'm just messing around. It'd be horrible.
That's a strong point there, because sometimes that's what most people do. They just they see a car, or they see something that's not theirs but it's attractive. They can get a good picture of it, and then boom, once it's out there, they can attract different people. Yeah.
So and what are you trying to attract? So these are all really good points, guys. One other thing. So you're taking that kid out to drive that car. So let's say it's a McLaren or a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. How are those cars meant to be driven?
Rapidly.
Fast, right? If you own that car and you're just like keeping it in the first 2 or 3 gears, and you're not opening it up, you're really not using it for what it was made for, technically made for, or made to be able to do. It's not able to reach its potential in that sense, unless it's literally just to look at and for, to try and use as leverage for trying to get a date or something. If you tried to drive that car how it's meant to be driven on the streets, what would that make you?
Fast driving.
There we go. It'd make you a douchebag, because now you're endangering everyone else's lives unless you have the Autobahn. So I'm not trying to get down on, if you have a friend who has one of those, like, hey, get me a ride. I'm not trying to like get down on this completely, but I am saying it is very difficult to own one of those cars for good reasons. You better have bought your mom a house. That's all I'm saying. Or anyone else, right? Like, honestly, what could you do with that money? You could sustain if you had a McLaren or a Lambo or something, you could sustain a village in Africa off of that money for like a couple years easily, right? So you spending that money on that car as opposed to people who actually need it, because it doesn't matter if your mom owns a house now, there are always people who could use that. So like it's kind of hard to make arguments to own those vehicles and not also like kind of prove who you are, kind of thing. Now don't cover up the posters on your walls in your room. If you've got a picture of nice cars, it's not a problem to enjoy or to look fondly at, or to admire the car, right? That's a nice car. Wow, that's impressive. Human ingenuity, or what goes into making that vehicle, that's impressive, and things like that, and pushing the limits of what we're capable of. Yeah, that's cool. But then there's the other stuff that we talked about there. So I don't want to really drag that out anymore. I do want to look at a couple examples. First, tell me really quick, what are some of the things that some of the concepts that you found were important in the 2 readings? So we had Everything Now and the Treadmill of Consumption. Yeah? what are some of the major points that came up? We're not talking details too much. We're just trying to say, like, were there terms that were defined? Were there things that were important to like criteria or things to know in order to really wrestle with the idea?
Part of what humans want is driven by their emotion rather than what they need, which is driven by their nature. So corporations like to exploit those emotions in order to sell.
Perfect. So notice this. Wants versus needs. That's what you brought up. If you guys didn't talk about wants versus needs in your response paper, or if you wouldn't have put that in your notes or something, then yeah, you're not focusing on the right things. Wants versus needs is incredibly important here. And then you took that further, right? That's what they do with it. They make you think that you need the things that you want, right? And they make it into a thing that's really not necessarily something you can buy, and yet they make you think that if you buy it, you'll get that thing. So we will talk about that a little bit later, but that's going to be one of the huge points that you're going to want to think about in this assignment that I'm going to give you later on, which is, what are they trying to sell you that can't be bought? So that was a great point. And, they make you think that you need, right? You need the smart water over the, Lake Arrowhead water? Okay, that water tastes like crap though. I mean, it's a fair point with the flavor of it, but like, you could have just regular purified water. You don't need the smart water or whatever. You don't need the higher version of it. I mean, you guys saw those points. Those were clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
The different versions of it, and how one is just more like a status thing. Like, I use this one, and then everyone, like, do you need a Supreme shirt? Is a Supreme t-shirt, yeah. Well, is a Supreme t-shirt better in any physical way than a normal t-shirt?
Maybe because of the graphic.
Is it the graphic? The graphic is definitely not something that makes it better. Would you say that you would have to say that the quality of the material maybe is better? Maybe the cut of it is better for your body or something. See how those are criteria that you would want to work with? But the graphic is garbage. Come on. Seriously? It's one color ink, and it's just this very simple logo. It's just funny. And then people will sit in lines, like really, really long lines, to buy a shirt. How much does a Supreme white tee cost?
Like $80.
$80.
Like retail.
Yeah,
Wow.
I could buy 5 of those at Target for like $10, probably, maybe 15. I think I buy my shirts at Costco anyway, so whatever. Or better yet, I bought this at the thrift store. I buy actually a lot of my clothes at thrift stores. Don't judge me. I don't buy my underwear there. Actually, I haven't gone to the thrift store in a long time, probably because of the whole COVID thing. Yeah, that could be it. What else?
For me, I felt like it said in any of the readings, right? For me, I found it in the Treadmill of Consumption that for young people, cell phones are necessities, not wants.
Yeah. Okay. So to be fair, that whole first section where they're going over cell phones, it's interesting, but it's not accurate, quite accurate to how things are now. People don't have fake cell phones, right? No one's going into the club and like using to spit, using to like hit on a woman to like throw their phone on the counter and be like, oh, check out my phone. It's the new one. It's got the the 3 cameras on the back. Do people do that? I mean, maybe, but that's weird. And I think maybe so for one thing, that article is written by someone in another country. and then it's older, right? So cell phones were a flex back in the day. Back when I was a kid and I had that Nokia brick, that was a flex. You could keep it on a little attachment on the outside of your pants so people knew you had a cell phone. Like that was a thing. And now you just see dads do that, and like construction worker foremen, and it's weird. But it's, the thing is for us now, because everyone has a phone and everyone has the newest phone. Like I went to social services and I saw like most people had the newest version of the iPhone, if not like one of the last 2 models. Like everyone there, like, cause you can get them like nothing and just pay like $10 a month for it, right? Or to pay it off. You guys know what I'm saying? Or you can get like an incentive deal where it's like, buy one, get another free, you know, for like the brand new iPhone, whatever it is, right? So it's not so much a flex for us anymore, but you do see a lot of that, the same points being made there about people and the way that they utilize like things, commodities and stuff like that. It is the same. And they get to some pretty interesting points there. What's the treadmill? What is the treadmill of consumption? What does that mean? That if you don't have that term in your notes, or you're not talking about that once again in your RP for the, when I said what are the major points, you know, like argue with this or whatever. What the treadmill is huge. What is the treadmill?
Never ending. It's an ever buying consumption of unnecessary goods.
Yes. So think about that, right? It's a metaphor. That what you said is a treadmill of consumption. So think about it. You're on a treadmill and you're putting all kinds of effort into it. Where are you going?
Somewhere.
You're not going anywhere. You're going nowhere. That's what a treadmill is, right? You're just on it, going nowhere. No matter how much effort you put in, not getting anywhere. But that's the point of a treadmill, right? It is deliberate. So the thing is, you might think you are going somewhere. Well, so what are some of the evidences that he gives here? Or what are some of the other points that he uses to build his argument that are important to cover?
If the treadmill didn't exist, people would be more simpler than less fortunate.
Okay. Anyone have another way of explaining that? Another wording?
People would live happier, simpler lives.
They actually, well, they wouldn't be worrying about, you know, getting that new thing. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah. What else? Like what? So how does this treadmill work? And is there any other components to it, like factors that make it so binding or so like why we fall victim to it and things like that?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. There's a desire for people to be better than each other. So they decide that they need something better in terms of like a better car than their neighbor or a better house than their neighbor. So they'll keep consuming to quote unquote better themselves.
So here's a couple of cliche phrases. The grass is always greener on the other side. Keeping up with the Joneses, or whoever you want to say. Keeping up with the Kardashians, right? So what you're saying, right, that is a huge component, but now it's even more so than ever, right? Before it was just keeping up with your neighbors. Now it's keeping up with the entire world. It's keeping up with Instagram. It's keeping up with all those people with the blue ass water in the paradise where they're jumping off cliffs and you're like, dang, I need to do that. I'm just sitting in here huddled up next to my rolling AC unit trying to stay cool. I wish I could jump into some blue ass water in Tahiti or something like that. So there's a lot going on there, right? what else is important in that text, in one of those texts? I feel like there's another pyramid going on and we haven't talked about it yet.
How possessions convey your status. It's like the more you have, the better you're seen in society. You're constantly on this treadmill that you have the mentality that like, oh, I have to buy the newest things, or just to prove to society or others that like I'm at their level or I'm better than them.
Right. There's also an association with happiness too, and being cool and being like with it, right? Like,
yeah, this is gonna like a barrier that's gonna raise your level of happiness.
Mm-hmm. So you see people with things and you're like, they're cool, they're happy. And then you associate it with those things. Like if they have those things, that must make them happy or cool. If I could just get those things. What's the new streetwear? If I could just get those kicks that he's wearing, then I'll be happy. No? Anything?
Yeah.
They prey on people's fulfillment.
Sometimes when we look at other people who have better things than us, we're afflicted and we tend to get jealous.
Yeah.
Instead of living with our stuff that we're happy with, we want to be just like them instead of just being like us.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, totally. So we've got, what else though? What about that pyramid? What's the significance of that pyramid?
The hierarchical human needs.
Yeah, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So that's another one. There's a reason why like pyramids are significant in this. Like we're not weird conspiracy Illuminati people here or anything, but we are like you get how the structure, the shape of this shows like you can't have the next step up if you don't have this foundational thing first, right? So once the needs are met on this level, then you can worry about the needs up here, and then the needs up here, and the needs up here. And I think the point that they make is that there's a pretty strong claim in there that's made that maybe should be fleshed out, but maybe we don't have time for it now, so you might want to think about it for yourself. But are all our needs met? Because it seems like they're claiming that all of our needs, our real needs, are met, at least in America. You think that's true or not?
Not always.
Not always.
I think it needs to be a little bit more specific in regards of like what kind of needs. Like, is it emotional, physical, or like survival?
Oh man, see, that's something right there, because there could be people that are homeless that their needs are met, like in relationships, and maybe they've got a good community. And then there are people who that's not always the case. Obviously, that's not the normal case. But then there are people that could be, middle class or even, 1%ers and be, dealing with all kinds of depression and feel completely alone in the world because they have no friends and they've put money over everything, and eventually they find themselves without any contact with anyone, right? It's possible. What do you guys think? Did I lose everyone?
No, I feel like, yeah, she's right. Because, sometimes there's needs that different people have inside of their lives. Whether it's, because that in the ending part, I found something that interested me.
Mm-hmm.
It was, where did it? I'm trying to find it. Special needs. Like, but instead of helping the other people out there, we buy stuff for ourselves.
Right.
That sometimes we don't even help the people out there. For example, like the special needs of giving your money to a homeless or something.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, when you ask that question, are all our needs met? That is a great point. Make sure that you're being specific. Is it mentally, physically? Physically, are all our needs met in America?
Sometimes if we get
No, why not? Who?
I would say no, because if all of our physical needs were met, they would have already found a cure for cancer, or they would have already gotten those vaccines out for COVID. Or what about the people that are still suffering and there's no cures for it? I would say no.
Oh man, that's a really good point. It's not just about like physical, like as in homeless people. It's also talking about people who have diseases and illnesses that will, you know, end their life or cause suffering to the point where, yeah, they can't go on. That's a very important point. Yeah. Okay. So to that extent, sure. You can't just say all our needs are met, but there are. Would you say that do people actually, and this, I think this is in there in the reading, tell me if you remember it. Do people sometimes pass over the things that they truly need to get the things that they actually just want?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Has anyone here played video games for like hours and hours, even though they were starving and they just like didn't care? They're like, oh, I'm so into this. Some point my mom will bring me a sandwich. I think that's a different issue, obviously, but
it's addiction.
Right? But that's the thing, right? It's you think you need this thing and you want this thing so bad that you will actually, maybe someone starves themselves so that they can save up their lunch money every day and eventually buy those shoes or that bag, that handbag that everyone else has. And, you know, you need to be that cool kid or be like the cool kids or something like that. No one's like that anymore. None of you are in high school. I hope you're not like that anymore. But I mean, that's definitely a thing that a lot of people have struggled with. Sure, passing up things that you do need for things that you want. We could go over this a bunch more, but we do need to make sure that we are moving along and covering the next thing, which is super important. I was going to give you guys examples. I have, you know, if you want to go back and look at it, we cover, we use an example of DJ Khaled. That's, you guys know who that is? Yeah. All right. So there's a video on Canvas. So if you want to go back, you can look at that. So, but we really don't have time to cover that now. So let's see. In America, are all our needs met? That's the little video segment. How to buy a Lambo cash. I believe we just covered that. You don't do it. The art of flexing with DJ Khaled. What we are going to talk about is the ad analysis. Let me go to student view. All right, so you should see all of those now. So those are available if you want to look a little bit more into those to get, they're down here. To get a better, you know, a little bit more insight into stuff if you feel like you need it for inspiration for writing. So we're talking about the ad analysis, which is like precursor to the first essay, so this is pretty much doing the same thing with the essay. Can you guys all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Try to make that bigger. Oh, there we go. All right, you guys can see that? Yes? No?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna talk about this, and then and then we're going to work through some examples and try to make sure that you fully understand it, because this is due, not a response paper, this is due on Tuesday. So, and it's worth 30 points instead of 12. All right, so let's go through this. We're going to talk about advertisements, and the whole reason why we talked about that stuff before is really to lead to this. So there's a lot of concepts in those readings that you did already read that will come out in the way that you try to wrestle with an ad. You're gonna work with a one-page ad. Let's just read this together a bit. So advertisements can be found all around us, whether in magazines, between TV shows and pop-ups and sidebars, while using the internet, and even on billboards while we drive. Corporations spend huge amounts of money to try and sell us things on a daily basis, but they are not trying to sell us their products alone. They draw on ideologies, trends, and stereotypes while using psychological ploys and different logical, ethical, and emotional appeals, all of which are used to attract and persuade their target audience of consumers. So your purpose in this is twofold. You're going to analyze a printed ad to understand and explain what tactics the advertisers are using to persuade their audience. And at the same time, you're going to diagnose and explain one element of like a social trend or a cultural ideology or stereotype that the ad is consequently perpetuating. I know this is very wordy, but you're doing two things, right? So you're analyzing the tactics used in the ad, and then you're saying what it perpetuates. And the thing that it perpetuates, the thing that it encourages in society, could be good or bad. I encourage printing this out. I encourage underlining it, like different things. Like what are some words here? Like if we're going and you see something, you're like, you know what, I'm a little confused on what you mean by that. Like, let me know, so we can go into more details into that thing.
It can be any advertisement, right?
No, it can be an advertisement only from the list of advertisements I give you. It's going to be you're working with a single page ad. If I let you do like a Super Bowl commercial or something like that, there's too much to work with in that. So it's going to be a one-page ad, and it's from a list that I've chosen, because a bunch of people have issues trying to find a good ad, because they might be able to figure out the tactics being used, but they'll have a hard time finding an ad that does that is actually trying to perpetuate something. Like, you're not going to find in an air conditioning ad, like an ad for an air conditioning service, you're not going to find them perpetuating some stereotype in America other than that people want to be cool in the summertime, right? It's not something that we're talking about here. So some common stereotypes and things that are perpetuated will be something like this. This product will make you beautiful, sexy, healthy, successful, cool, happy, good, etc. You get what I'm saying? Like, when I said, what is this ad trying? So what are they trying to sell you that can't be bought? Can you really buy beauty? Like, really? Can you really buy being sexy? Can you buy that? Can you buy being healthy? Does this product make you healthy, or is there something you actually have to do other than buy that product? You get what I'm saying here? Or like a product that is supposed to make you successful. How does that, like, we're talking like a watch. No, it's just the appearance of success necessarily. Or happy. How does, yeah, well, I think we need to look at some examples. But first, so you're going to go on Canvas and you're going to choose, and I'm going to just show you actually. So this is pretty important to, how do I get out of this? Oh, there we go. All right, so you go to the home screen and we scroll down to, so this was week 2, make that smaller. You're going to click on ad choices here, and what you're gonna find is you've got a bunch of ads. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick an ad from here, and we will talk about how to do that. There's a way that you have to claim an ad. But just know that this is where to find it. So let's go back real quick. What are some tactics that might be used? What do I mean by that? What are the kind of tactics I'm talking about?
Like how it's presented to us.
Yeah, well, what are some techniques? Anyone?
I would say like ethos, pathos, or logos.
There we go. All right. These are called modes of persuasion, right? This is, you can persuade others or people can persuade you. Okay, real quick, what does logos mean?
Appeals to logic.
Okay, yes. Pathos.
Appeals to feeling.
Yeah.
Emotion.
Like Drake. All right. Ethos.
Life.
Appeals
What?
to ethics.
Ethics or?
Morality.
Yeah. So I think I heard authority, but that fits under there. So I'm not going to write everything there, but you should definitely do that in your notes. Let's go back to logos. How might they appeal to you in an ad with that?
It'll give you scientific facts about how it can help you through the research that they have done and they can provide to the audience.
Yeah. Science.
Amount of research they do.
Yeah. Yeah. Research. Yeah. All of this stuff, I'm just going to.
Reasoning.
Research. Yes. Even reasoning, right? They will actually make logical arguments, and sometimes they won't work logically. And then so it looks like it's logical. It looks like it's reasoning, but really it ends up falling into a different category. And we'll show examples of that. So those are good. Now, these sound very repetitive, but all these things fit into that category. So how would they appeal to you with the other one? Pathos.
With pathos, maybe the feeling of maybe sadness inside of the, or whatever mood it puts you in.
Sadness doesn't sell, but you're getting there. What would they use to sell something to you?
Happy family. A
yes.
baby.
Yeah.
Happy family.
Happiness, which could be, like you said, so if you got a baby, then how would the happiness factor there?
Like raising a child.
Yeah. How?
Self-esteem as a parent, maybe.
Yeah. Like if you buy this product, you will be a good parent, which will make you happy. Also, you really want other people to think you're a good parent. Right? Okay. So good parent, good person even. So like how would they make you feel that you're a good person?
The words that they'll say, the words that they'll reach out to you in the advertisement.
Sure. Give me an example. What's something, guys, anyone, that was something that an ad would do to make you think that buying their product would make you a good person?
There was this ad for, I think, to adopt puppies or something, and they used like this sad music and images of puppies just being like unhealthy, and I don't know, that makes you feel sad and like wanting to adopt a puppy or something.
Well, so if they say that every time that you buy their product, they give money, they donate to an organization that adopts puppies and stuff like that, right? That would make you feel like a good person, right?
You're supporting your country by.
Ooh, patriotism. That's huge. Yep.
By supporting an American corporation.
Yeah, that's right. U.S. made.
Working at helping those in nursing.
What was that?
Nursing other people, like helping them out when they're.
Yeah. So yeah, and that would go in the you're a good person kind of category, right? What else? What are some other emotions that they might use?
Uh,
Or ways they use pathos, at least? We'll fill this out a little bit more as we go through some actual examples. Tell me really quick about ethos. How is ethos ethics? How is that ethics?
Maybe the background of what they're selling to you.
Right. So credibility. So there we go.
Or not animal tested.
Right. Whoa, that's caps. Background of company.
Sustainable.
Yes, we are so not just you are a good person, they flip that around, or they have it the other way where they say we are a good company, which is through the things that you guys just said, right? What was it? Sustainable?
Sustainability.
Yeah. What else? What was the one that was said previously?
Was it animal testing, like not animal tested, or even?
Yeah, no animal testing. Sure. These are examples, right? Of something that they would say, even the donating thing. We donate, that works both ways. It works towards their credibility as a good company, so their ethics, right? And the opposite, it makes you feel good as a person. So you can work that from two angles. That's same exact way that they're working it in the ad. Let's see. So you guys do get how ethics does build their credibility, right? Like if they show that they're good, if someone tells you they're a liar and a thief, does that help their credibility with you?
Yes, because they're honest.
I mean, I don't even know because sometimes they can be they're criminals.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, okay, so in a sense, you got me there. That's good. Okay, so let's actually look at some examples and just working with this. There's plenty of other stuff to work with, but I think this is enough, at least for now. And you guys need something tangible rather than just me talking about it and throwing abstract ideas out here. Let me get this open. Okay, so if I watch, this isn't even going to show up. So can you see that?
Nope. Oh wait.
Yeah. Okay, I just put what? Okay, I put this ad up on the screen. What's going on here? This is an ad.
About marrying somebody.
Okay. How do you know?
The ring.
Okay. Because there's a box and it's an engagement ring. All right, good. What appeals are they? So that's the details, right? Get it how there's details, there's evidence. There's a box, there's a ring that has many diamonds on it, and they are pretty big diamonds. So that is indicating that this is most likely an engagement ring.
City of Paris. Love,
there we go.
France.
The color red.
The true love.
Okay. So check this out. You guys are throwing out evidence. This is good. What does that evidence do? Now you tell me how they're using those things. What are the ways the tactics they're using those things for to persuade you? Like with just the logos, pathos, ethos stuff, even.
The way that they can make you want to buy the ring for the person.
Okay, so
like the saying of true love has color and name.
Ooh, what is that? So which one is that on the list? Logos, pathos, or ethos?
At logo.
Yes, actually, a lot of people don't really think about that. They're making a claim, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Now it doesn't really like that if you think about it a little bit more. So let's think about it if it holds up. Just because they're trying to reason with you doesn't mean their reasoning is solid. So you guys tell me, True love has a color and a name. What are they saying then?
That no matter who you love, no matter who you fall in love with, it doesn't matter color, race, as long as you love them.
Okay, someone else.
It goes to the color red of the box and the name part there of the brand.
Okay, that's the connection. So what are they saying? True love.
And if you love a person, buy them Cartier.
You will know that it's true love if you buy a Cartier ring.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Does this only appeal to logos then? Because like my first thought was pathos, because like the verbal language was love, and that would appeal to I would think like feelings or emotions.
Yes. So
like, you know what I mean? Could it apply to two different things?
Yes, definitely. This is one of those things where if the logic doesn't really hold up, even though it looks like they're trying to appeal to you logically, it is actually an appeal to something else, emotions, right? So think of it more along the lines of that. Like it slips out of logic and really falls into it's pathos masquerading as reasoning. Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah. Could you like sometimes like argue that like within your analysis that like we could have two different opinions, but is it still possible that if you back up your argument well and someone believes that it could be pathos, would that still be accepted?
Yes.
If your argument is still like makes sense?
Correct. Yeah, there's multiple ways to do this. The cool thing is this isn't math here. So if you have a solid argument, like for one and for the other, you could in the same essay, it's not even just two different people arguing different points on it. You could, one paragraph after the other, say it's logos in this way, but it's pathos in the other way. Now, I think your arguments are going to want to be a little bit more complex than just saying pathos. Like what is the thing that is pathos here that they're getting to? Be more specific with your claim. So like, think about what the claim is first that they're making. True love has a color and a name. So true love is buying a Cartier ring. So what does that mean? Does that mean, flip it around, if it's not a Cartier ring, then it isn't love?
That's the thing I'm confused about too. I'm like,
is it confusing? Think about it, guys. Isn't that what they're saying? True love, if it's true love, it's Cartier.
I think you're onto something, Professor.
You think what?
I said, I think you're onto something.
Well, okay. Look at it like this. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Does anyone get it?
No.
Yeah, there we go.
The feeling of loving somebody?
Yeah, so, no, what I mean is, it's not just a feeling. Like, how do you feel love? Is love, let's say, gosh, I can't even use this anymore.
Oh, we can put love like
sucks. So, I can't use Kobe anymore. This sucks. Okay, let's say.
Rest in peace.
I know, right? Let's say a guy who is rich cheats on his wife, and then to show her that he really does still love her, he buys her a huge $4 million ring. Is that love?
You're like, no, not in a way.
It's being rich.
Yeah.
You're now putting a monetary value on it, and you're exchanging it, and now you're making it so I don't have to be faithful to someone so long as I can pay enough money.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
It's like you're just pampering them.
Okay, and now we've gotten to the point of what's being perpetuated. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
What's being perpetuated is money is love, not time, not commitment, faithfulness. Those aren't loving.
No.
Cartier is loving.
I'm still kind of
So it's
a
kind
little
of saying
confused
that it
about the Cartier.
telling the person that you love or in words is not enough. You have to show them by actually having something physical, like a ring.
Okay. Well, and that's like, I'm not saying you should never buy a ring, right? That would be horrible, right? Or to just say, because you could also be faithful and buy a ring. But does the ring equal love, right? Because there are other physical ways, things that you can give someone, like all those things that I said, dedication, commitment to actually like being there day in and day out, being that, what did we say? It's not just physical things that are needs, but mental needs, right? Being there for someone mentally, spiritually, like being actually like a friend to them, like all of those things. If you just exchange it and say that the physical thing, this ring specifically, what can you do with that ring even? Can you eat that ring? Can you house yourself under that ring? Can you have shelter from a storm? Does any of that?
It just shows like how much we love
Hey,
it.
you know what really sucks about wedding rings? You can't resell them.
Why?
Why not?
Okay, look, you can resell them.
You can't.
You can never get what you put out for that ring back. You can never get it back. You can try and hawk it and you might get very little back, but unless it's some like heirloom crazy ring that was stolen from like the British castle, or sorry, the crown, right, of England, like unless it's something that's like an antique that somehow has more value, yeah, you're not getting your money back.
Wow.
Yeah, just heads up.
So
Heads
it's
up on that.
Basically, my guessing on this kind of advertisement is like sometimes rings don't formulate the love. Sometimes it comes with the other stuff, like you mentioned, buying a home, or even like just being there for the person.
Yeah. So you guys saw all the different, yeah, exactly. So, but the problem is that isn't what is being perpetuated. What is being perpetuated, what is being like encouraged, is a superficial idea of what is loving to someone. Because this is what love is. They don't show in the background someone like digging in the yard, fixing the garden. They don't show someone washing dishes. They show Paris, right? You were right. That's definitely the Eiffel Tower. What is Paris? You already said it, right? The city of
love.
Love.
City
really?
of love.
Really? Okay. They have this, what is that? Pegasus there? In this statue, Roman statue of Pegasus or something going on. All of these things, the flowers, they all work together to sell this romantic idea of I can buy love, or your love is something that I can prove my love to you by throwing money at it, which a strong argument that can be made is the American dream is having enough money to throw it at things to solve all your problems, rather than actually being a good person or working for something. It's throwing money at it. Like, let's say you make a lot of money at work, and so you can't really spend time with your kid, but you could definitely buy them a car. That's loving, right? They didn't get to spend
on I don't know how to put it into
Yes.
words.
No, you're getting it. You're getting it. Okay, let's go to another one because we're running out of time. How about this one?
2 times. I think that one is more like using less of something. So the logo, it should be
Yeah. So what else about logos? Everyone chime in. All at once, just yell into the speaker.
It says 2 times more absorbent. So absorbent would mean it it'll be scientific. So basically, it'll be behind ethos or ethos.
Could be. So the science stuff is probably more along the lines of, or when they're making this claim of fact, it's typically going to be logos. Is there more than one element of logos in this?
Bounty. Oh no, one sheep won't quit.
Yes, it's telling you that you're gonna use less.
Yes, and so that right there. What about the visual aid?
The visual.
They're actually showing you a visual of that.
It's like saying less is more.
But also,
they are.
Like in their wording, how they put in bold and a different like size font, the 2x plus use less.
Yeah. Now, so this is the important thing. Focus. So you're not going to use this ad because what's it perpetuating, right? Like, what would this even be perpetuating? This isn't perpetuating anything. This is, I mean, to clean your house, right? That's not really something you want to write a whole essay or a whole like assignment on. But don't, I wouldn't focus on, try not to focus on colors. That's just something, I know you didn't say that, but like, so that you guys all are aware, because a lot of people will want to focus on colors and try to put meaning to colors. Okay, unless the meaning is clearly known across society, like it's not going to be something that they're using. Like, yeah, it might be aesthetically pleasing, but that's not something that you want to even focus on for even a paragraph. That's not worth anything for this assignment. So no one cares that the color of yellow is friendship and that red is maybe red is love. Like that's as far as you can go though, because that's the one thing that people know, but I wouldn't even make a paragraph about that. That's not worth it. Find a different ad if you're trying to look at colors, because that's just trying to make things pop and like have visuals like that. But you're trying to focus on the logos, pathos, ethos, or the kinds of ways that they're persuading you with different kinds of techniques. So not this one.
It should have like I don't even know how to say it. A perpetual.
Yeah.
Perpetual meaning.
Yeah. What's up? Was someone else was saying something?
Oh yeah. So what advice would you give us? Would you say when we're looking at these ads to look for any symbols or verbal language? Or would you have any advice for anything else that we should look for within these ads to build our analysis?
So I wouldn't just go for something with a bunch of words on it. Maybe that does help, but you're really looking for two things, right? A lot of times people will only focus on the one thing, the tactics. You're like, well, I see 3 tactics. That's 3 paragraphs that I can write on the 3 different tactics being used. But you're also at the same time trying to talk about a thing that's being pushed, like an idea in society. Now, maybe that idea is a good idea, or most likely it's not going to be a good idea. It's going to be like a superficial thing, but they don't care because it's what sells. So if you can't see both of those at the same time in the ad, working towards that, then you're going to be missing half of the point. So what I'm saying is, if you see in the ad, like what's being perpetuated, what about this ad right here?
That they're saying, so this could be
the girls?
Yes. Will this product get you girls?
Yes.
Is there a reason why the guy is skinny and not looking all buff?
Because
using this product, like no matter how you look, you'll get the girls.
Yes, exactly.
It's all about the smell.
Yeah, sure. Something like that. And you've seen other ads about it. The important thing with this exercise is to not refer to anything outside of the ad. Don't go and look up about the ad, the company. You want to refer to the company, obviously, in pointing to the ad. But you want to, sorry, we're not going to do a second break, by the way. We have a little bit too much to cover before I send you off on your own. There are a couple videos where we cover this stuff, but there's still quite a bit of questions I'm sure you still have about this. So we're trying to get through all of it before before you're off in the cold and dark. So yeah, the whole point is, like, you want to see what's going on. Now, what are the tactics? Is there enough to work with in this ad? Probably not. You could get like one solid paragraph out of it, but not so much. How about this one? You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going on here?
It's basically telling about the Rolex.
Yeah. So who's that?
David Beckham.
That is David Beckham. Says some things about David Beckham there and their watch. Okay, the watch. How are they trying to sell this?
So basically, it's like, what is it? The watch has the power of his.
Anyone else?
He's a soccer player and he's trying to give like the advertisement. So
What is it about this soccer player?
People
He's
like him
very
and he's
rich.
cool.
Yeah.
He's like a successful person.
Yeah, he had the money.
Yeah. He's also attractive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, hey guys, if you get that watch, maybe you'll be like David Beckham. No? Nothing?
If it's cheap, then yeah.
He's cool. He's attractive. Women like him. Maybe some of that's maybe it's about the watch a bit.
Mm.
So this is where it slips into something else. So this guy, you know who he is. Is there any ethos going on with this?
So there's scientific behind.
I don't see the science, but what's the ethos?
Credibility.
It's a person of credibility.
Okay. What's his credibility?
That if David Beckham likes it, then he kind of has the credibility, like, oh, like everyone else should like it then too, because he's like admired and looked up.
So I think you worded it in a way that was really good. So normally, if you point to him just being a soccer player, well, what's his credibility there? If it's shoes, if it's soccer cleats, that would be one thing. He does have a kind of expert opinion about that, and then his credibility is high. Now, if you're looking at him as a fashion figure, someone who is very fashionable, and he likes that watch, now you've got a correct ethos or a correct credibility on the matter, because you trust him for his opinion on style. Maybe, I don't, but maybe someone does. Now, the other thing is, when they do try to use someone who their field does not match up with the thing that they're supposed to be credible for, what do we call that? Is that ethos anymore, or does that go somewhere else?
Go somewhere else?
Yeah, that becomes pathos again, right? Because now you are associating incorrectly, and it's becoming more of like they're doing it intentionally, right? They're using someone that you look up to, but so that they can make you think, well, if they like it, then you can be like that person in some way, and then it's this faulty. It's an emotional connection rather than a ethical or credibility connection. Yeah, does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Also, if you were able to read the text here, it's pretty blurry, kind of hard to see, but it's talking about, it's like, David Beckham's done all these things. He's so cool. We're like him. So they actually use his credibility that they talk about, and then they turn it back on themselves. Just like he's cool, we're cool. And so they flip it, so you could work that from two angles. Does that make sense? What's perpetuated?
If you buy the watch, you'll be able to be exactly just like he is.
You'll at least be something like he is. Yeah. And I'm not saying he's anything good or bad. I'm just saying, like, they're perpetuating that there's a thing you can buy a thing that will make you something else that you can, there's no way, I mean, that you can buy coolness, or you can buy success, or you can buy something like that. Do you get what I'm saying now?
Mm-hmm.
What's being pushed? What's being used? One more of these, and then we'll get to some other aspects of it. What about here? Who's that?
Selena Gomez.
All right, cool. That's Selena Gomez. What's important about using her?
Is that she's saying with Pantene lotion, your skin will be as smooth and hard.
Right. Do people look up to her?
She's a wizard.
Some people do, some people don't.
Okay. So some people will be like, yeah, she's hot. Or, I mean, is that who's buying this product?
I think the ones who are buying those products are ladies because they want their skin to be just like her skin.
Right. So there are important factors here where you're also trying to think about who the customer base is, right? And they'll cater something. There's Pantene for men too. There's cigarettes for guys and cigarettes for girls, but guess what? They're the same thing. They're the same cigarettes. They're the same shampoo. But they market it differently to appeal to them, right? And so with this one, you are marketing with someone who is successful, and people would say she's attractive. And what are they saying?
Yeah.
Are they talking about how are they talking about this?
Strong and beautiful. So that can be in a context of ethos.
So strong, yeah, right there. Yeah, exactly. There we go. So they're saying strong is beautiful. There's a couple things about get 3 days of frizz freedom with smooth and sleek. That's like they're making claims of fact there, right? They're like, oh, 3 days of it, so I could like not wash my hair for 3 days and I'll get that same effect. There's logos, yeah. But then the other factors of like, well, so is that a bad thing that's being perpetuated about strong being beautiful?
Sometimes, because sometimes you don't know what the outcome is. Maybe it might be wrong.
So let's say a woman being strong, is that a bad thing?
No.
No. So this could be, you could make an argument that they're actually trying to promote something good, that they're trying to encourage women to want to be strong, that strong is a good thing for women as opposed to, damsel in distress and needing a man to do things for her and stuff like that. Yeah? Makes sense? So you could argue that the ad is, now understand this. The ad might be pushing something that is a good idea, but what is the primary concern of the company?
They're selling
anyone.
The people or like the group that's being targeted, since she's young, maybe like early 20s, mid 20s, so they're trying to aim at a younger group of,
sure,
I don't know.
Yeah, this isn't appealing to older women, I'm sure, stuff like that. So you get the group that they're trying to appeal to, but what is the overall concern for a company to begin with?
The way they're trying to sell their product.
Nope. What are they trying to do? Well, actually, they're just trying to sell a product. They're just trying to sell a product. That's all I was trying to get at.
Is it like who they're selling, like who their face is gonna, or what face is gonna represent them?
So that's also, I was just trying to say, let me see. Okay. I'm trying to say this. So can you see what's on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to play this, or we're not going to play the audio for it. You don't need it. But there's this Dove ad, right? And they have a woman describe herself. It's a really long ad. It's probably from a Super Bowl or something. Well, I don't know if it would be there, but it's long. And it's like a campaign too. And so what they do in the ad is they have the woman describe what she looks like to this artist. And then the artist draws them based off of what they describe themselves to look like. And then the artist draws them off of what other people have said. You know, I don't even remember how this goes, but you get the whole point, right? Like they're trying to promote, like, you should, like how women should like maybe think better of themselves, or what's important, like that they are actually more beautiful than they think they are and stuff like that. It's like trying to boost the confidence of women. Why are they doing all that?
Just so that women have more confidence in themselves?
Is that so they have this altruistic purpose that it doesn't matter if they sell their soap so long as women have a better body image of themselves?
To appeal to their emotions so that women associate happiness and beauty with the brand.
Yes. That, oh, these people stand for women actually having a better, like they're trying to help better culture and things like that. And so when they look at products on the shelf, if they see one product over here and Dove, and they're the same product, but Dove is actually trying to do something good, which one are they going to pick?
They're more relatable, like through their ads, so it's going to be Dove.
And then they become more relatable too, and there's the credibility and all that stuff. Yeah. So all I'm saying is it doesn't matter if you argue for the ad being good or bad in whatever is being perpetuated. Just know that they're still just trying to make money. Primarily, everyone.
That's true.
That's very true.
Right. So, I mean, hey, if you can help better society in the process, sure, that's cool. But also just don't be deceived, you know, because everyone's just trying to sell you something. Is Dove going to actually make you have a better body image of yourself if you use their product?
I'm thinking like Pantene and Dove are like the same thing.
I mean, well, they're doing the same thing. They're definitely doing the same thing there. What else? There was something else. I was going to put you guys in groups. There's no way we have room for that. Now we got 10 more minutes to get through everything. I do want to show you something on Canvas. You could write this down in your notes or not. Actually, yeah, let me just make this visible for you guys too. So, sorry, just a second. It's not essay one. All right, so some of the other things that happen with persuasion, right? Whether it's a fact or not, they could be claiming it's a fact. They could be using statistics. Statistics can still lie to you. Let's say there was legit on this box of cereal, they said, this cereal gives kids 200% more energy. That's their claim. It's a claim of fact. That's a logical appeal. They're saying that this does this. We have a study that proves it. Yeah? So there was a group that they're like, well, that's weird. 200 times more energy than what? So they looked at the study. By the way, the company, Kellogg's or whoever it is, they're the ones who put on the study. What was the study based off of? 200 times more energy, or 200% more energy than kids who didn't have anything for breakfast at all. You get it? So you can even use, so that's manipulative. You see that, right? Is everyone there still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So even when they use logos, they could still be manipulating you to try and make you think that their product is healthier or better in some way. And it might not be. Like when they show, so there's going to be some ads for like health products or things for working out and stuff. Maybe there's something about their statistics that it's not all in it. What, do you just take this one pill? Is that all it takes? And then somehow you're going to have a 6-pack in 6 weeks? Or is there something that you're going to have to do at the same time? Because just because this person did it, well, what did they do? Did they just take the pill and then do everything else like they used to? Or did they do something else? And so what made that person lose all that weight? Was it the product or was it the regimen that they put themselves on? So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can look at with that. Anything can be manipulated in advertising. Going back to the Canvas page to make sure you know what you've got here. So under week 2, right, this is all the stuff that we covered today. And you'll notice that ad analysis down here, right? So this was like intro material stuff that we were covering with the treadmill and all that. And then you've got your prompt that we were looking at today. So this is what you're working with. And then you've got us actually, this is another class going over the ads, the specifics of the assignment, like page number and all that stuff. Don't focus on that if you watch this video to try to get more information. Focus on the actual like concepts that are like I'm trying to get you to do, like those 2 things. What are the tactics being used and what's being perpetuated? What does that mean for society? Are they making things worse or better? You know, this right here is a couple extra readings. If you want to look at tactics, this is not mandatory or anything like that. This is just, I don't know what to do with my ad. I feel like there's other things, tactics of manipulation that are covered here. If you want to look at this, I don't need you to use any outside sources. I don't want you to use any outside sources in this assignment. So don't pull quotes from random places online. I want you to focus. All of your evidence needs to come from your ad. If you want to use a quote from one of the readings that I just showed you or the readings that you covered for this reading response, I'll accept that. If you want to put that in there, but you don't even need to put that in there because you already know the concept. And so you don't need to quote them if you can just explain it in your own words. That's a free thought right there. That's not something where they have a patent on that. It's not a product of them. Those ideas are something that you could have thought of on your own, potentially. So does that make sense? Another thing. So, gosh, there are so many things that I want to give you guys as to work with here.
One last question.
Uh-huh.
The person, I can't even pronounce the word. So it's about like maybe what's the purpose behind the ad? And
well, the purpose is to sell a product, but what is it pushing? Like what ends up being pushed in their attempt to sell the product? So if you want to, so write down next to that word that's perpetuated, right? Mm-hmm. Write down next to the word perpetuated any words that you feel like are also the same as that, right? Synonymous with. So what's being perpetuated, what is being pushed, what is being encouraged in society. They're not the ones who figured the thing out. They're not the ones who started it. They are just jumping on the bandwagon and using it as a way to sell things. But at the same time, they're becoming guilty of pushing that same idea to everyone else. So they're being complicit. Do you get it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool. If any of you guys struggle with writing or anything, yeah, see, we're going to do that. Oh, here we go. Those were the readings. So there's different different concepts there. Different ads, right? That was you saw the Dove ad? That's like a woman's woman, right? A man's woman. So if it's catering women towards men, the women are going to look more like this. Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's the kind of women that men are wanting to see in ads. And it's really important that she's, you know, like if it was just some fat slob guy eating that, it wouldn't be as appealing. So you guys get it. By the way, like that's how you're supposed to eat that burger, right? Everyone does that. Yeah. In between oiling up. She's probably got like oil on her hands. It's absurd, right?
Yo, how is this allowed? Oh my god.
Right? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And yet it totally sells because you might understand how ridiculous it is, but do you think like a 12-year-old boy is going to understand how ridiculous that is?
Probably not.
No way. His hormones are telling him what to do. Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot going on there. Yeah, and Carl's Jr. has had so much backlash for all their stuff. So stereotypes, ideologies, anything like that, those are things that you want to look at, right? If there's a stereotype in there or an ideology that's attached, that's the kind of thing. Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? You'll be able to choose and figure it out. But here's the thing that I want you to be aware of. If you find yourself selling the ad, you're doing it wrong.
What do you mean by that?
So if you end up, as you're writing, starting to sell the product yourself, you are not analyzing the tactics that are being used. You have now become an ad yourself. So don't do that. Make sure that you're analyzing and from an outside way, objectively diagnosing what is going on with the ad. You are pointing out how they are trying to sell it, but you are also coupling it with what's being pushed and what's problematic with it or not. Yeah?
And then we can add the things that we discussed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really quick, so things to note. So your evidence is in the ad, which means you have to summarize it. You don't just throw the image in the middle of your paragraph, right? You have to summarize what that image is. So when you summarize something, don't drag it out. Remember what we talked about with Plato's Cave? What were the shortest way that you could summarize the most important components of it? So with this, you want to summarize the evidence for the paragraph that you're talking about, for the claim you're making in that paragraph. Does that make sense? Like you don't bring up any other evidence because you're not talking about it in that paragraph. You bring up that evidence as you use it later on. The other thing to note, if we were to look back at the prompt in week 2, is you will see that, make sure to read this, it's super important. You're not going to have an intro, you're just going to have a thesis statement. So it's just going to start with your thesis statement. Now you need to, in your thesis statement, have the ad, but say it as quickly as possible. So what's the product? What's the company? That way I know what the ad is. And then what is your reasoning or your claim about it? What's the ad doing? What it's perpetuating? All of that should be in the thesis statement. Does that make sense?
But what I'm getting at is an ad, and then what is the product and the company name of it? And also, what is the reason and claim for it? Or
yeah, so your claim at what they are doing. So don't list. I don't want to see you in your thesis statement listing, they do this because this, this, and this. I want to see you give your reasoning of like, they're trying to sell you that this product will make you beautiful if you use it, which perpetuates this false sense of beauty, that beauty is totally superficial to society, right?
Mm-hmm.
See, so that could be your thesis statement, something like that, depending on what your ad is. Or it could be doing the opposite and breaking those stereotypes. So it should all be here. feel bad because we definitely ran out of time. What you need to do is you need to claim your ad, though. This is super important, and then I'll let you go. I'm so sorry I'm running over. You go below week 2, and you'll see ad choices. You click on that, and then there will be the PDF that you already saw. You scroll through that. Now, so this is for synchronous class, so I'll show you this one. So here are your directions for it right here. So what I would suggest doing is have this window open and then having the other window open where you can scroll through the ads. So what you do is, it's a PDF. So open the PDF, download it, do whatever you need to do to have the PDF open and scrolling through it. Whatever page number you're on for that ad, each ad is a page. So if it's page 49, then that means that's your ad. You're numbered 49. And so what you do is you go to claim it. So you go right here in this discussion and you type in, I've claimed this one. Before you do that, you have to make sure no one else has claimed it. So no one in the same class can have the same ad. So it's first come, first serve. If someone else has already claimed it, you have to find a different ad. If you decide to relinquish your ad, you have to tell everyone and then be like, right here, I have relinquished my ad. So give a description of it. Does this make sense? Make sure you've done this by Sunday night, that you have an ad chosen, and then Tuesday this assignment is due. But I want you to already know which thing you're working on by then at least. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'm going to post a document under all that on week 2 at the very end of it. That's going to be notes from today's class, just in case you missed some stuff or things that I wish I would have been able to cover a little bit more extensively. So make sure to go right under here to check for that if you're looking. If you're like, I'm not sure about the thesis statement again, he was really fast about that, or how to structure the essay properly. So yeah, anything else? So you guys can go. And but if anyone has any other questions, let me know and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability.
Sure.
Sorry that went so long, and have a good rest of your weekend.